Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee to order for a Monday, January 27th, 2025. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to Dartmouth High School and the Dartmouth School Committee meeting. Just a reminder to please silence your cell phones if you have any electronic devices, as well as also a reminder that this meeting is being videotaped by our wonderful high school media department under the direction of Mr. Robert Parati. The meeting will be rebroadcast. It will be recorded and rebroadcast on DCTV channels 9 on the following days: Wednesday and Thursday at 5 p.m., Friday at 6 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. The meeting will also be rebroadcast on DCTV channels 18 on the following days: Monday and Saturday at 12 p.m. and Thursday at 3 p.m. And as always, you can catch it on the Dartmouth High School Media YouTube channel. And we always thank our friends over at DCTV, as well as Ms. Parati and his students that are helping out. Could we have a roll call, please, Ms. Gentner?
Kathleen Amaral.
Here.
John Nunes.
Hello.
Mary Beckwith.
Here.
Bess Coughlin.
Here.
Chris Oliver.
Here. Thank you very much. First item on tonight's agenda is the public hearing for school choice. It is set for 6:05. I'm not sure what the committee's pleasure is. It's 6:03. We have a couple of minutes. You want to take the minutes first?
Yeah.
Perfect. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the regular session minutes
So moved.
of January 6, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Amaral, a second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any further discussion? Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain, Mr. Chairman.
Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. Thank you, everyone. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes for January 6, 2025.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, with the stipulation that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is complete.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Coughlin. On the motion, any further discussion? Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain, Mr. Chairman.
Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention.
Did we miss public comment?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Yep. We'll do that right after our school choice hearing.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, though. It is approaching 6:05, so at this time, I will open up the public hearing for the 2025-2026 school choice. The hearing was advertised in the Standard Times on January 12th, 2024. So we'll open up the hearing now for anyone wishing to approach the microphone. We ask you to do so, state your name, and if you could keep your comments brief, anything regarding school choice here in the town of Dartmouth. I'll just remind everyone that school choice is a program that allows districts to accept students from outside of the Dartmouth community limits, other nearby district, actually any district in the Commonwealth, and we typically take them in at the high school level. So, anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we close the school choice hearing.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Nunes to close the school choice hearing, second by Mrs. Amaral. On the motion, any further discussion? Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for that. Thank you for bearing with us. Next up on tonight's agenda, we have public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any of tonight's agenda items, if you would like to approach the podium, we typically allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items on tonight's agenda. I just ask you to approach the podium, approach the microphone, keep your comments around 3 minutes, and state your name.
Hi, I'm Nathan Silva.
I'll try to keep to 3 minutes. Feel free to give me the,
No
if I'm
worries.
running over. I just want to speak on the budget a little bit. I know you guys are hot and heavy into the budgeting season. I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing in that. And all I really want to point out is just one thing, is that there was a lot of excitement in town at the fall town meeting that the town had generated record free cash, right? $8 million of free cash was generated. But in my mind, I think that's a loss, really, because in the same year in which we generated record free cash, we also had to lose 9.5 positions from the school department. And we also had to dip into one-time funds in order to fund our ongoing operating expenses in violation of the town's own financial policies. So the direct and tangible results of those cuts are that my daughter's class size increased by 33% between last year and this year, between second grade and third grade. So what we did was we leveraged the quality of our children's education in order to generate that free cash, and I think that's a shame. So I think that it's not that the town didn't have the money to preserve those positions and to preserve truly level services in town. It's that they didn't prioritize properly in order to do so. So I think we need to, they need to sharpen their pencil a little bit in terms of what we generate, what we're projecting for revenues, because in order to underestimate our revenues by $8 million in a year in which we were significantly reducing the quality of our kids' education is a shame. And I think my ask of you all is that I'm hoping that the next town administrator has a little bit of a different philosophy than our previous town administrator. But until then, I would ask of you all that only approve a budget that truly meets level services for the schools, right? And that fully funds the strategic plan that was put together. And then if there's a difference between what the town's willing to offer and what you guys see as is necessary in order to preserve level services, let the select board take a vote as to where they want to prioritize money. Let the finance committee take their vote as to where they want to prioritize money, but ultimately let town meeting have that debate as to where we think the funds ought to be prioritized. So I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know you are all on the same page, and I appreciate all that you do, but again, it's just something I wanted to mention as we head into budgeting season, so thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Silva.
Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment? All right. Seeing there's no takers, we're moving on to our next agenda item, which is our student representative report. And I'll turn it over to, I'm sorry, Jordan.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I wanted to start with, we're heading into February and just started semester 2, so report cards will be coming out this week. Our debate team recently has had a successful meet in Boston. Member Audrey Kirchard took 1 gold and 2 bronze awards home, and Will Jordan took 2 bronze. Our winter sports teams continue to do well with only a few weeks left. Track will be holding their senior night this Thursday, and we also have a number of athletes that qualified for states. Our robotics team also had their first competition yesterday, and they've been working diligently to prepare for it. The National Honor Society has put together a carnation fundraiser where students can buy carnations and Valentine cards to surprise others on Valentine's Day. Our Dartmouth High School Theater Company will be putting together a high school musical for the spring show, and tickets are on sale now for the show debuting May 1st through May 3rd. And there are currently 2 student council fundraisers. Our first fundraiser will be selling flower bulbs, where you can purchase online flower bulbs. And the second fundraiser will be at Chipotle on February 3rd, where some of the funds will go to our student council. And all funds that the student council receives will go to activities and a leadership conference. Thank you for taking the time to recognize us this evening, and we hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
report, Jordan. Any questions? Mr. Nunes?
2 quick, then the 2 fundraisers that you're having, what are they?
So they're run by the student council, and
yeah.
one of them is a flower bulb fundraiser. So we have a QR code that's in the hallway of the school where we'll be selling them online. And the other is a fundraiser taking place at Chipotle on February 3rd.
Do you need a flyer for Chipotle's?
We don't have one currently on our board, but I think we'll be putting one up soon.
You make sure, get it to Mr. Shea so it gets to us. If I don't have to shop, cook, or clean, I'm golden. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Thank you, Jordan. Anything else? As always, you're welcome to stay. What we understand, you probably have some other things to do, so thank you very much. The highlight of the night are most of our school committee meetings when we get to see students. So Spotlight on Kids, George H. Potter Elementary School. Turn it over to Dr. Saber
Well,
McGuire.
I see Mr. Porter is making his way to the podium. Well, Mr. Galashaw said a minute ago that there was a buzz here tonight, and there is. So we, as Mr. Oliver just said, love it when our students are here to talk to us. Hopefully what you heard from our high school student just now reminds you of why we start this kind of work and give our students these kind of opportunities really early on. And so we're really excited to have Mr. Porter and crew talk to us about something that we started this year that we think is going to be is very exciting.
I agree. So good evening, and thank you for inviting us to Spotlight Potter School. This year, we are very excited to tell you about a project that our grade 5 students recently completed with our instructional technology specialist, Sandra Chicka, and with the TV production studio here at Dartmouth High School. In fact, I think behind some of these windows, behind the control panel there are 2 Dartmouth High seniors who were instrumental in helping our 5th graders produce what they're going to show you tonight. So we just want to say a very special thank you to Brady Jackson, who's a junior here at Dartmouth High, and Michael Burke, who is a senior. They were a big, big help. But this is not about me. This is about them. So Ms. Chicka, come on up and tell us a little bit more about this exciting project.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Good evening, school committee members, and thank you for having us here to present tonight. This project started out as just a thought. I wanted to somehow get the 5th graders involved in making announcements, either over the intercom or doing video announcements monthly or weekly, just to kind of spotlight what we were doing at Potter, just within Potter. But when I brought the idea to Mr. Porter and Mrs. McHenry, Mr. Porter suggested I reach out to Mr. Parati for some tips and some best practices. Mr. Parati quickly responded, have the kids write a script and they can come down to our studio and we'll record. We'll have a newscast recording at the studio, which was great. I didn't think we would get a lot of kids signed up, but we had 25 students involved in the entire project, which is great. Mr. Parati accommodated them in the studio that day. The students impressed me with their creativity, and I'm very proud of the work that they put into the project. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with such a terrific group of students. We have 6 of them here tonight to help us present. Francesca Yanni, Sylvie Vadebunker, Madison Gardner, Abigail Mandeville, Edward Casey, and Rachel Hall. And first up, we have Francesca.
Back in September, Mrs. Chicka asked all of the 5th graders if they wanted to be part of putting together a newscast. Mrs. Chicka called it the WGHP and the name stuck. We were all invited to fill out an application and be part of a short interview. Next, we brainstormed ideas for segments that would tell people about Potter. Since we were all eager to choose our segments, we used the random name picker to decide the order we picked our segments in. Once we received our segments, we wrote out the questions we would be asking the staff. We also had to set up times to interview the staff. We asked the staff questions like, what was the weirdest Christmas gift you had ever received? After we finished the interviews, we had to write scripts. Mrs. Chicka helped us edit and revise them to be the best that they could be. Everyone had a job to do, so even if you weren't going to be on camera, you still had to do just as much work as everyone else did, like coming up with segments, writing scripts, and filming some of the videos. We learned about using external microphones with iPads. We learned louder is better. While some of us were interviewing, others were recording the interviews in the hallway or asking staff, what's the funniest thing a student has ever said to you? Or asking students, what would you do if you were principal today? We had to do a lot of work. It was very hard. It took a lot of time, and it was a big commitment. Here's Sylvie.
Once the scripts were done, we started rehearsing. First, we started with table reads. That is when you just sit and everyone goes through their part in order, making sure it sounds correct and practicing voice changes. Then we started recording our rehearsals. We don't have a teleprompter, so we used the panel in our room as the teleprompter so we could get used to reading off a screen. We recorded the rehearsals so we could watch ourselves and decide what we needed to change. We rehearsed right up to before we left for Dartmouth High School. Once we arrived at the high school, Mr. Perotti wanted to catch our first look as we walked in the studio. It was a spacious room filled with cameras. There were cameras everywhere and a lot of computers. There was a big TV with a fireplace crackling on it. Besides that, there was a large monitor that showed what every camera could see. There were 5 cameras. They all shot different angles. It was shocking to find out that each camera cost around $25,000. Mr. Perotti and some students from the high school explained the equipment to us. But the best part was the high school students had our WGHP all over the room. Those of us that did not have a segment were able to work a camera or go into the control room and work there. The camera people were given a headset so they could communicate with the control room. Each camera had a number, so we knew which camera had to move. They would give a direction like coming in on camera 2. The camera looks heavy, but they were actually light. Bringing on Maddie.
As we filmed the newscast, there were students working at the cameras, at the desk being recorded, sitting in the comfy lounge waiting for their turn, or in the control room. There were 4 different jobs in the control room. One person was the director. They controlled when the cameras switched. They could speak through the headset to the camera people, or they could speak directly into the studio and say things, like we have to do another take, or we can hear background noise in that take. Even though the final video has all the different parts, we actually recorded the host parts first. So they had to pretend they were going to the next segment, even though they were just stopping. When we got to the anchor desk to do our segment, we had to put on microphones and sit on high chairs. As we sat at the desk, we were facing a monitor that we could see ourselves in, and the teleprompter. The teleprompter was actually controlled by someone in the control room. Each time a new person sat at the desk, they had to run a mic check because we speak at different levels. That was another control room job. That person just adjusted the volume and turned mics on and off. If you watch the newscast, you will also notice the background change for each segment, which was also controlled by one of us in the control room. That person had to make sure the background ran the entire length of the segment. Mr. Perotti let us do most of the work. Of course, he helped us with the control room because there was a lot of expensive equipment in there. But other than that, he let us do a lot, and that was great. Here's Abby.
Everybody worked together and did such a great job. I wanted to thank Ms. Chica for organizing this event, members of the school staff for their interviews, Mr. Perotti for welcoming us and allowing us to film at Dartmouth High School, our homeroom teachers, Mrs. Goodman, Miss Sullivan, Mr. Ducha, and our ESP, Mrs. Braga, who were all flexible. Miss McHenry and Mr. Porter for letting us participate, the staff at DHS-TV Media for helping us record and edit the newscast. This was not only fun, but also such a great learning experience that we will not forget. Our news class is 23 minutes long, and you can see it on DHS-TV Media's YouTube channel, but we do have a short staff spotlight today.
Hello and welcome to DHNN Potter School Holiday Edition. We have a lot to talk about.
Miss Stevenson started her teaching career at Potter 4 years ago. Her favorite thing about teaching is getting to know the kid.
Hi, I'm Francesca Yanni.
Hello, I'm Rowan Mello.
We went around Potter School and asked the teachers, what's the funniest thing a student has ever said to you? And here's what they said.
A student told me that their mom told them to clean up the biggest mess in the house, so they grabbed cleaning supplies and started spraying their sister.
Yes.
The student's picturing a fountain that you see outside and trying to take a drink from it, now realizing the rest of the country uses fountain instead of bubbler. So we had a good laugh at that one.
Hello, I'm Liliana, and these are my friends Riley and Maisie. Today we have a book review segment on the book Wonder by R.J. Paco. Back to you, Nico and Aubrey.
Thank you, Maisie, Riley, and Liliana.
Miss Karen became a teacher because she enjoys working with kids and she wants to teach students to believe in themselves. She enjoys learning about literacy but likes to teach math.
Hi, my name is Leah.
And I'm Deanna.
We interviewed students in kindergarten through 5th grade and asked them the burning question.
What would you do for your principal for a day?
You do.
I would make the kids learn at recess. but they can also have fun.
I would let the kids learn less and have more time at recess.
Thanks, Aubrey and Nico. Hi, I'm Eddie. Some people can't decide between a cat and a dog, so I'm here to give you my opinion about each of them. Thank you, Eddie. Our final segment is also our final staff spotlight. He started as a 5th grade teacher and taught 5th grade for 18 years at Potter School. He received his master's degree and wanted to see if he liked being an assistant principal. Thanks for tuning and happy holidays!
Good evening. Thank you so much to the school committee for providing us with another opportunity to showcase the fabulous work that our students and staff are doing at Potter. And I would like to repeat what Abigail said and give a couple of shout outs to starting first with to Ms. Chicka, our Technology Integration Specialist. I think I said that correctly. Thank you for organizing this for us, and to Rob Parati and the DHS TV media team for giving our students this wonderful learning experience. And most of all, to our students. So if you wouldn't mind joining me in giving our future news anchors, I'm not sure if they're evening news anchors, going to be the next Today Show host, Good Morning America, whatever you watch, but if we could give them another round of applause for a job well done. And I'd also like to acknowledge our families who joined us and our staff that joined us as well. We so appreciate you coming out on this cold evening in between dinner and basketball practice and all that good stuff. So thank you as well. And I also want to acknowledge that this is Mr. Porter's last Spotlight on Schools, which makes me very sad. So if we could give him a round of applause, that would make me feel good. All right, and I'm going to turn the students back over to you. If you have any questions or comments, they'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Any of my colleagues have any comments or questions starting down there?
I'll just start. I'm super impressed the way in which you all took, your roles, turning the slides an integral part of this presentation. You did a great job. And I enjoyed listening to you and learning more about the process. You really described it well. And I would like to know if any of you were inspired from this opportunity to go have an interest in some sort of communication field and broadcasting and such. I don't know if anyone wants to go to the microphone if you have. Yeah.
Nobody else is going to say it. Well, I think that it was a great learning experience, and it makes me wonder what I am going to do when I grow up. And this seems like one of my options, so I think I will do this further. I don't know if I'll do it professionally or just somewhere else, but I did think about that.
That's excellent. Such great skills, learning, learning how to better communicate, getting up in front of a crowd of people, and knowing that you are being recorded. It's something to be proud of for sure. So thank you. I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. Oh, nice job, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just thinking, do we have like Patrice Woods or Savannah Guthrie?
Yeah,
or photocopy, Doug Janik, type of deal. But seriously, fantastic job. How long did it take you? When did you start working on this?
We started about, I would say,
September, October.
Late September, early October, and then we did when we did the video, and then now we're here.
Did you work on it like after school or during lunchtime, recess?
We kind of just took different times and we shifted it around to make it work, and everyone's in different classes, so we had to figure that out. We did it during library, we just really tried to shift it around, and we did it whenever we could and stuff, and it was great. And we filmed in December, right before Christmas, and from late September, early October to December. And then some of us worked on this project too to share for you guys tonight.
Very
excellent.
Good. Well, thank you very much. That was excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Yeah, definitely excellent, and that just looked great. And so my question, and any of you can answer, as many of you can, is did it turn out like you pictured it when you were writing your scripts? And what was different than you expected?
It turned out even better than we expected.
That's always a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question.
Anyone else?
I had a slightly different picture in my mind, but the way it turned out, I really liked it.
Great.
Excellent.
Good.
I also did. I didn't think the studio was going to look like that, or I thought I was going to be a lot more nervous, or like I didn't know really what to expect, and it was all really good, and like it was fun, and I wasn't as nervous as I was when I got to it and did it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good.
Thank you.
That's because you prepared. Yeah. Thank you.
That's excellent.
Very impressive, absolutely. So my question is along that lines, but was it more difficult than you had anticipated, or what were some of the most challenging things? So was it more difficult? Was it challenging? What was the most challenging part?
I think the scripts, we were trying to make like paragraphs and all of that about their answers, and it was just a lot, but we went through it and we're just going.
Nice job.
I will say it was a lot of work, but at the end it's all rewarding, and it was a great experience to have, and I am very grateful that I had a chance to be able to do that.
Great.
Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess I'll wrap it up here. Wonderful job to all of you, and even the students that weren't here. Very, very professional, I will say. Seeing everyone up there, was anyone a little bit nervous when they were in front of the camera, sitting at that desk? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Some yes, some no.
I know, right? How many of you were like amazed when you walked in and saw the studio for the first time, and you're like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." It's a pretty cool space, especially for a high school. It's like real stuff in there. So, well, thank you, all of you, for presenting. You all did a fabulous job. Thank you to all the teachers, Mrs. Chica that was involved. Thank you, Mr. Porter, for coming out.
And Mr. Olive, I can just add that whenever we have an opportunity to bring our elementary kids up to Dartmouth High and see this amazing building, so I also want to thank Mr. Shea as well, but we're hopeful that when the kids at this age are seeing what's offered up here at the high school, they, in a few years, will make the choice to become a Dartmouth High student. So with that, I just want to thank also Mr. Kiley, because he was able, through the school department transportation, to get a bus to take 25 of our students up here. Because as you can imagine, that's where the biggest expense comes in, is when you're paying for a bus. So a special thank you to Mr. Kiley. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice. That was awesome.
So the rest of the meeting's anticlimactic.
It always
Yeah.
is.
It always is.
That's the best part.
Thank you.
You're all welcome to stay if you'd like to stick around for the rest of those agenda items.
Basketball.
We always
homework.
enjoy an audience.
What happened to all our people?
I know. We'll just wait a second here.
And yep.
All right. I think we're ready to move on. Up next is a consent agenda item. Turn it over to Dr. Saba McGuire.
So we have a trip planned with our students who are on our student council. This is something that happens yearly, where they have an opportunity to go down to Hyannis, much like we did in the fall, as school committee in the Mass Association for School Superintendents. But this is for school committee and for students to go and actually learn more about what it means to represent, to be civic for lack of a better way to explain, but we're excited to offer them this opportunity again. And that will be on from March 5th to 7th. And they will leave Dartmouth High School, and they will be at the annual conference in Hyannis, the same place actually that we were in the fall. So we're asking for your approval.
Perfect. And it looks like 10 students?
10 students, that's correct.
Chair.
1 teacher.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Mrs. Amaral. On the motion, any other discussion? Chair hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, it looks like we have a few presentations here this evening.
It's a busy night.
First up, we have Dartmouth High School School Improvement Plan.
So I see Mr. Shea is making his way to the podium, and I know he has a presentation prepared that you received in your packet. And so we're excited to listen to our first school improvement presentation, and what we are really proud of is the connection that our school improvement plans have to our strategic plan. And you can see right off how Mr. Shea starts off.
I don't know why they're moving. Sorry.
Yeah, why they're moving with the actual dashboard for the strategic plan. So, Mr. Shea.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for taking us as the first school. As you all know, we have NEASC this year, and one of the critical standards is having a school improvement plan in place. So it's really important for us to have a school improvement plan. I also want to just thank 2 groups of people. One, I want to thank the Strategic Planning Committee, and because with their guidance, this made the process a lot easier than it would have been on our own. And I think that sets a nice framework for everyone to work together and keeping us rowing in one direction. And I think that was really important. Also, the school council is the other one that has reviewed this, and I want to thank for their time too, dedicating a afternoon to be here and looking at it and asking questions and helping us revise it before we present it to anyone. So thank you to those people. 2 others, I apologize, are the admin team at the high school has really put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. And then Ross was really critical into helping me get this out and get this together. So I'm grateful for the team that is Dartmouth Public Schools, and you'll see throughout this that there's a common thread for everybody. So, like I said, the school district set us up in really successful fashion by really taking our 4 strategic areas of teaching and learning, safe and supportive schools, family and community engagement, and budget and capital improvement. And we're going to walk through each one of those as we go. You have all seen this, but I just want to clarify that. So the first area of teaching and learning is where we spent a lot of our time as an admin team really focusing on. It also ties directly to a lot of our NEASC standards. So we know coming out of NEASC, one of the things is mapping our curriculum and making sure our curriculum is mapping. That is something you're going to continuously do throughout your process, and you're evaluating it. That leads into all of the next action steps, as well as developing school-wide expectations for equitable grading and academic excellence. What does that mean at Dartmouth High School? What does that look like? What are practices that are common? We've seen that if you have 7 teachers, you might have 7 different expectations, and students that are new to first generation or new to a high school experience don't have as many advantages as someone that has families have lived it when they know that this teacher's rules are this way and this way and this way. So we want a common language for Dartmouth High School. We use common assessments, but it's nothing that you never want to stop. You want to keep going with them, you want to analyze them, you want to look at them, and you want to use that CPT time and that PLC time to really norm those practices and develop our practices together. So really working together, and one big thing is we have our curriculum, and what do we do with our curriculum? Well, we have expectations for what the curriculum looks like. We look at our curriculum, we look at our data from what we've tested, and we make sure that we have normal practices that we do. So kind of in that sense of falling in that TL1. In that TL2, this is really big to us, is professional development. That's also going to be another NEASC goal that we're going to most likely come out of, we're assuming. So we really want to have use our strategic plan to develop a PD calendar going into next year. So really, if you look at it, that's August through June, but we're going to go into school with straight PD plans that are already identified with flexibility, because obviously there's times we want voice and choice and we want people to have the availability, but we want to know where we're going using this plan as our model to continue for that. And then We also, that's great. We do that as a department once a month. We also have our PLC times that we want to work on our departments as well. So using our departments, what their goals are. So science might be like working with, we brought in a specialist for our atomage table. We've brought in other people. We've worked to update some of our labs. That's kind of the stuff that we want to do departmental. So whole school and then departmental. I apologize, I talk fast. I will try to slow down. I'm realizing it. I hear my wife watching this at home saying slow down. So, and then TL3 is the reimagining pathways. That's really big in the high school world right now. Currently, we have 2 pathways. We really want to expand those. We have, and we want to really work with that. We're working with UMass on some AI pathways that they have, and we're going to continue doing that. But we want to really identify pathways that also fit into the building. You're going to see that later on in one of the other focus areas is how do we put some pathways into our building with our schedule and our plan. So examine it through the program of studies and what it needs, and then identifying staffing to best support the students' transition. That's a big other thing that we see is that freshmen coming up here is definitely one of our bigger struggles. One of the big pieces of data we see is freshmen do struggle here. We want to identify that. We've done a lot of work this last year and a little bit last year prior to work with the 8th graders coming up and really supporting them. I think it was better this year, and I think we can do a lot more to continue that growth. So we want to use our staffing assignments to support our students. One of the things you'll see is in our program of studies is the pre-AP programs that we're working on, especially like in English that we've piloted and what that means and how we use our staff to support those programs. Focus area 2 is safe and supportive schools. Under kind of Mike's leadership, we really do a lot of support for safety plans and safety drills. It's nothing you ever want to not give up, though. It's something you want to continue. So you're going to see that, but I want to make sure that you all know that we have worked our drills and we do it. We always want to continue and grow on that. We do want to develop a school-wide culture and climate study. We're meeting as a group tomorrow with our culture and climate committee. We want to do some culture and climate studies. I know there's going to be a district push as well. That's going to be really nice to work into what we want to do. We want to look at like what makes a Dartmouth High School student, what makes a staff, and what makes us to be successful. That's the creation of the committee that we're going to meet tomorrow. And then the other big thing is that we have our advisory period, which is wonderful. One of the things that we really want to push into our advisory is those social and learnings, like those CASTLE skills. How can we support our students in that social emotional side? We did that last month as a simple one in the sense of like, how do you even organize your computer? How do you organize your Gmail? Because we've seen our students not getting emails. We've seen our students just not taking care of themselves on the digital side. So we really focus on the digital side and just teaching kids how to filter their emails and stuff like that. Because our kids are on 7 Google Classrooms on the minimum. If they're in sports and they're on clubs and activities, they get emails all day on those. And how do we filter them out so they just get the right ones and they see the emails that they need to see? That was a self-care that we really thought was important, and that's going to continue with those social emotional competencies. Continuing that is that we also want to recognize what the good is here. Oftentimes we only hear about the bad, but as Jordan presented, that we had students for their first time in debate team get first place. We had students, we have athletes everywhere performing well. Our theater program, our debate team, our math team is undefeated. There's a lot going on. Our BSU is creating like some really nice like bulletin boards and supporting our school too. We want to make sure that we're highlighting the good and continuing to push that good. And you're going to hear that in Focus Area 3 as well. But we want to celebrate individual accomplishments. And then one of the big things is One Dartmouth is not just a saying to me. It's something I believe in. And we really want to create like a One Dartmouth recognition. And just like Dr. St. McGuire is doing with the Green Apple, we want to bring that down just to the high school level of a One Dartmouth recognition program for next year. And then this is where I was talking about with Mike, where we really do a really good job of drills, but it's something that we want to continue and reflect. One of the things that we started to do last year is after drills, we would put out a survey for conversation about what it was look like. But we want to continue to monitor our school safety preparedness, quarterly drills with the district planning, seek educational opportunities for professional development. There's a lot of training on school safety. We want to continue to send people to those things. We've taken a lot out of it. One of the things that used to be is you would all shelter in one corner. That's not necessarily something you want to do because you're all in one spot, right? So some of the stuff we're taking away from a lot of these trainings is what we can do and implement in our day every day. De-escalation is a really big thing, right? We talk about CPI. 10% of that is hands-on. 90% of it is how do we take a student that is up here and bring them down, right? And how do we support them? What are those skills? So we're lucky that we have some CPI opportunities in the district. We want to continue that. And what does CPI look like in a sense of de-escalation for all staff and refresh those skills that we all have? And then I don't know if you guys have seen this in the building, and we've started this project, but we've really tried to norm what our building is what our locations in our building are. So if you see any stairwell, there's some red lettering on a lot of them. We're still going to continue to update those lettering so they're easy to identify for the camera, right? So it'll say, if you're looking at that stairwell way over there, that would be B level, D stairwell, right? That's the language we need because that's what the police are going to see, and that's the language we need to use. Kids used to call that like a B high. That means something to us, but it doesn't mean anything to the people that are responding. So we're trying to norm the language in our building, and we want to continue to do that. In family and community engagement, we really want to continue using Parent Square. It's a really great platform. It gives us a lot of great data. We want to get more parents on it. We've offered nights on support of it, on open house. We had a whole session on it. We're going to continue pushing Parent Square. In our main office, we have little QR codes for parents just to QR and automatically get the app on their phone. We want to continue that process, and we want everyone in Dartmouth Public Schools, especially Dartmouth High School, to have it on it. We are the bigger users of the district. That's also because we have athletics that use it a ton, band uses it a ton, clubs and activities use it a ton, and our teachers are really starting to use it as well. We're lucky with Jess Birmingham in here, who used it at Uxbridge. She's really brought that energy in with it too. So we want to continue that, but if we're all using it, we want to make sure parents have it on their phones too. The rollout of the new website has been really great. We want to increase our social media presence. You are talking to someone who's very afraid of social media, doesn't have a social media presence at all, but I need to be more on that because that is where people get information, and we're going to develop that and grow that as well. And that comes out in the principal's newsletter as well. I want to start a parent advisory council. This is different than the school council. That is different. Their job is budgeting and SIP and really those responsibilities. This is more like coffee hour. You know, come in, let's have a conversation about what's working and what's not working for you as a community member, because we really want to prioritize engagement in our community events. You know, we had a art show last year that filled the gym, and there were parents in town that had elementary schools that have like, I've never gone past the front foyer. I've either gone to the auditorium, I've gone to the gym, I've never gone past it. So we gave some tours that night, just impromptu, really trying to build up what this looks like for what our school looks like for our community, because we have so much to offer and we really want to show off and continue those showcase nights, those open house and awards nights, where we really, again, we're celebrating the good of Dartmouth. We want to explore opportunities to increase our internship through community partnerships. We do a really good job. We have about 90 students right now that are on internship. We would really like it to almost all of our seniors by this second semester to have some version of an internship if they have credit-wise, if they're able to do it, because it really does give you an opportunity to see the world. And I use myself as an example, and I think I told you guys last year when our spotlight was, I started in a marketing internship, and about 3 days in, I'm like, I can't spend $40,000 a year on this. This is not what I want to do. And so even those awarenesses on the pros and the cons side of it, we want people to be able to see what the internships are. And then the last one's a little bit of a passion project for me, but it's developing a community service opportunity plan. So many of our kids, especially when they're juniors, are scrambling for hours for a National Honor Society, or they don't have those opportunities and they want to do good and they want to get back and they want to build their resumes. And there's not a bank for it. So we just need a bank of what we can offer to be involved with community service. It ties us to our community again. I know the food bank at the Y is a really big one, as a really nice option. So we want to continue to build those community service partnerships. I think we can do a really good job. And again, we have 900 amazing students at Dartmouth High School, and I want the world to see them that I see them through the lens in. Budget and capital improvement, obviously a lot of this falls under Mr. Kiley more than us, and I really appreciate his guidance in it. One of the things is the needs assessment. We have the MSBA coming in a few weeks to really work on that, and we're going to collaborate with those stakeholders to implement improvement plans. We are working on a dedicated professional development space right over here that's going to be gorgeous, hopefully, but it'll be a nice space that really it's professional. We look at, like, when we go to like an MSAA meeting or a board meeting or any of those, you come into an environment where you're professionals, and we want people to come in and say, we're going to learn, but you are a professional, and we want to respect that. So we're really designing it in that way. And then again, I talked about this earlier, but we want to look in those pathways, but also like what what our building can do based off of our program of studies, and are there changes based off of what our program of studies is saying that we need and what our building offers, and we want to do like a needs assessment on that side of things. Again, I apologize, I talked really fast. If you have any questions, I can answer them. I can, like I said, I can hear my wife saying slow down.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shea. Questions? Start down this side of the table.
How do you manage to talk so fast?
Caffeine. Lots of tea.
We have plenty of time for questions. Impressive. Looks like a lot you are in the midst of and planning to do. 2 questions. One is for your newsletter, which you haven't done yet. So how is that going to be accessed?
Yep. So currently we use a Samore as our base of our newsletter. So Samore is an app that creates like a pamphlet for you.
Okay, got it.
In short words, we're going to continue to use that. We want to actually spotlight more of like the media program, because if anyone notices, most of my principal messages are videotaped. I call Ben Smith my producer. If anyone watches like shows, he's my producer. He writes my scripts. He comes in. Our students can do a lot in there, and they do really talented work, and we want to produce their work as much. So as much as it's a principal's newsletter platform, we really want it to be students driven. And again, it's that voice and choice with them working with us in a class that they're passionate about. So we do have one. We just want to revamp it, and again, we want to make sure it gets in as many hands as possible. That's the data that actually Parent Square gives us. So we average about 900 views. We need to get that up higher.
Okay, so yes, I've seen your videos, your principal's message, but your newsletter, which I'm still not clear, like, how do students access it, and is there a way for the greater community to access it?
Yeah, so my intentional plan is one, again, it's emailed to everybody, also available on the website.
Okay.
Yep.
And
sorry, I didn't understand your question originally.
No, that's all right. So Parent Square, we've been hearing a lot about it in the last year, but is there a way for us to access it to see what it looks like?
Absolutely, I can get you on groups. I'm not going to speak for myself. Just Birmingham can get you on those steps, and I can get you in with her and get it on your phone and what groups you would need to be access to and what you would have as rights. But I can get you guys set up on that, absolutely.
I'm looking at Mr. Galashaw, and he's looking the other way. He's looking the other way. He's going to get us all on Parent Square.
Yeah. If not, you can come to high school, and if he's just as really helpful in that.
Great. And everything else you're doing, it looks fabulous. You're taking on a lot. It's great.
Yeah, it looks really comprehensive and ambitious. So it's impressive. I'm most interested in internships and your thoughts about how to expand internship opportunities for students. I think hands-on is both good, like you said, to learn what you don't want to do, but also to just be in a work environment to learn how to be more professional.
100% agree. Like, and that's the standard right there. Is like, what does professionalism look like, and how do we up that? I think it's a twofold challenge. I think Mr. Parati in the BIT department does a really good job with promoting it. We did a better job this year than we did the year before. One of the things that our students are going to do in April, and Mr. Parati might yell at me about the date because I don't have it off the top of my head, but we're doing a showcase for all of our students on their internships so students can see it. What we see with a lot of our juniors that are struggling academically at this point in the year, they're like, I know I need to get these classes so I can have 2 periods available for internship, right? So it's another motivation for our students, for our traditional learners and non-traditional learners.
Great, thank you.
But anyone in the community that wants an internship, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're really like trying to expand options. A lot of it is student driven to find where they want with the support of the teachers.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Shea. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues, very comprehensive. You talked about under TL3, with the 8th graders and what types of struggles are they having when they come up here? And how are you working with them?
It's the transition is tough, right? You're going from K to 8 where you are in a very structured, organized system. You are in, you walk to classes, you sit in the tables, you have those supports. You come to the high school and there's a release of responsibility, and we believe in that. We believe in that growth in our students. Sometimes the biggest struggle is the students that are like, this is almost too much freedom, and Mike and Graham spend a lot of time working with students, pulling them back with their pace choices or pulling them back some of their selections on like when they're passing and stuff like that. So that's one of the struggles. The other big struggle we see, in all honesty, is the understanding what credits mean at a high school level, right? Yes, freshman, sophomore, junior year exists, but that only exists based off of the number of credits you have. It's not like we can just pass you to the next grade. You have to earn 24 credits to graduate from Dartmouth High School in different fields, like Mr. Tebow is going to talk about in a little bit, but you have to earn those credits. That's a different mindset for people. Right, and we have to do a better job of from day one explaining that. I think our freshmen right now with report cards are starting to really grasp that concept, and we have to be better about putting that out earlier and understanding it. And some of it is living it, and unfortunately you have to live it, but we want to be proactive in supporting them. I do want to say that our student support teams have done a really good job of identifying students early this year and getting families in and communicating with them. So we've had some success. We just want to continue to monitor it, and we still want to have that growth. And again, I love what the middle school does. I think they do a really great model there. It's a different building and it's different ages, and when they come up here, we want to make sure that they're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. And then just following up on the internships and such, is that we had, if my memory's any good, Coach White and a couple of other teachers last year.
That was our spotlight.
That was the spotlight. Yeah, that was on that. Okay. That was fantastic.
We had students show, like one of our students, she's at BCC now, which is great because it's free. But prior to that, her dental agency was going to pay for her classes. Now it's free, so it is. But like you build those connections and you can find ways to like support those growth.
Yeah, different. I mean, I remember the different areas they were in. So it was good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So when you're almost last, you have to think about like, what can I say that's different, because they've captured all of my questions. I think ambitious. I just appreciate your team under your leadership, under our district leadership of making those database decisions, being thoughtful and reflective. That was very clear. And I just want to commend your, your part in that, and your energy and enthusiasm clearly comes from your heart, and it's infectious. So, I've seen you interact with students, and so we're lucky to have you.
I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
Oh, well, we can tell that you feel that way. And I just really, John kind of I had some questions about that the middle school piece, but that's okay. But I'll just make a comment to say that, it's been my experience as a parent, the efforts to sort of engage with the 8th grade, and I just really am impressed with your clear mindset of constant improvement. Like, how can we do better? Like, there's no ego in the game. It's all about the kids, and that can only good things can come from that. So I just am appreciative of that, and love, the family engagement piece. That's my jam. I love your idea to have that parent advisory council, just so that you're hearing from boots on the ground. I love to hear at a later point when you have a little bit more of a solid plan of what that's going to look like. I'd love to hear more about that, and just check in on how it's going and things you learn from the community, and how in those database decisions how it does result in changes and improvements with engagement. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Amaral. Thank you, Mr. Shea. I certainly appreciate the time and effort with you as well as your team that's been put into this. I think you articulated all the action steps and your certainly the measures of success very well throughout your indicators. A couple of questions that I have, well, not really questions, just thoughts. I'm happy to see the pathways are in there in developing those and working towards those. It's funny that you brought up community service program or community service, because I've actually, a couple of parents, Dartmouth High School parents, have reached out to me and wanting to know what they can do to help and see if the school committee can work towards, in cooperation with the school department and with the high school, about doing some kind of community service program. And I think it if not anything else, it certainly would build character.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Love it.
So
yeah, it helps when Andrea's on my school advisory council. So
who's that?
Andrea's on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So
she's been in my ear for a bit about it, and
So,
she's right. So
if there's anything I can do to assist, then I am also happy to see that you're working on a social media presence, because I think a lot of the newsletters, the websites, the website's great, the newsletters through Parent Square are great, the SMORE. But I think getting out there, if we really want to advertise and brand ourselves, and let's face it, education is very competitive now. Public K-12 education, it's competitive.
Yeah.
With school choice and with charter schools and everything else. So the more we can do to brand ourselves and advertise all the wonderful things. And tonight's presentation from Potter is one such example of a great way to collaborate with students across all grades, for sure. So I'll just say that I think, Mr. Shea, I think you're the right person for Dartmouth High School. I think Dartmouth High School is very lucky to have you. From my standpoint as the school committee chair, if there's anything I can do to help you grow Dartmouth High School and take it into the next level, please let me know. I'm only speaking for myself, but I think there's a lot of great opportunities that happen in this school, a lot more than some of the other surrounding communities. So I think all we got to do is just fine tune as you go into NEASH. So thank you for your presentation.
And I appreciate all of the support, Chris, and all of you all. I really, really appreciate the support. You all have been kind from day one, and that's just the first, that's where we start, and that means a lot. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you in about 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
We've got, say that again?
Yep.
Oh.
Take a vote.
Oh, thank you.
That's fine. Absolutely. Looking for a vote here.
Motion, Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the Dartmouth High School school improvement plan for school year 25-26.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Shea. Next up, DHS competency determination update.
So this is actually a great segue. So thank you, Mr. Shea, for the presentation. And I what I'd like to point out is that I hope you could see how the school improvement plan truly mirrors the district strategic plan, and how the district strategic plan is driving the school improvement plan and vice versa, and how they're working in concert with one another. And the initiatives that were shared with you tonight by Mr. Shea and and of course the work he's done with his team and with Dr. Thibault there to support them is meant to do exactly that. They're meant to work in tandem with one another so that we're all working toward the very goals that are set out in the district strategic plan. And at our last meeting, I briefly spoke about the competency determination and told you that Dr. Thibault will be here to give us an update. And what I said to you, and I'm sure Dr. Thibault is going to affirm what I said, is that we're in a really good position here in Dartmouth. And I can't say that that's true for all of the districts across the state based on some of the conversations that we've been a part of. So, Dr. Thibault, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saber McGuire, and thank you to the school committee for allowing me to provide an update on what admittedly is not as an exciting a topic as our Potter presentation or our school improvement plan. presentation, but I'll do my best. It is important that this work is aligned to our strategic plan, falls squarely under teaching and learning, but also this opportunity to kind of update, use this platform to update our community as well, because how we go about earning a high school diploma in Massachusetts has changed. There are some changes because of the ballot initiative that was passed in November. So hopefully my presentation tonight will kind of clarify some of that, and we can go from there. Starting with what is a competency determination, because I have to admit, as an educator, it's been around since 2003, but it's not really something we talk about all that much. The state likes to refer to it as the CD. The CD, you hear that a lot, the CD, but really what the competency determination is, it's the minimum requirements that a high school student must meet in order to earn a high school diploma. And they are aligned directly to the MASC curriculum frameworks, or as we often just kind of call them in shorthand, the standards. Okay, so the CD is directly related to the standards, and specifically, the idea is that students have to demonstrate mastery of those standards in order to meet the CD. So prior to the November ballot initiative, that was done by looking at the achievement scores on MCAS in ELA and mathematics, which both take place at the end or in the spring of grade 10. Also, science, technology, engineering exam, which actually takes place in June of the freshman year. From 2003 on, that was how the competency determination was met by a student. What the November ballot initiative changed was that's no longer allowed to be used as a competency determination. And I just want to be clear and clarify for folks, what that ballot initiative did not do was it did not eliminate MCAS. And so I think it's important that we're clear about that, because our students will still be required to take MCAS in the, our freshmen will take it for biology in June, and our grade 10 students will take it in ELA and mathematics in March and May, respectively. And while that's not linked to the high school diploma anymore, it is still part of the school accountability ratings that we'll receive. So it is still important that our students do our best, and that should be our collective message around that. But it's no longer tied to whether or not a student earns a high school diploma, and that is the change. So the requirements of the new ballot initiative is that according to the new law, a student who has not yet earned a CD must demonstrate mastery, and these bold italics were added by me as a point of emphasis so that we're clear, but mastery of a common core of skills, competencies, and knowledge by satisfactorily completing coursework that has been certified by the student's district as showing mastery of the skills, competencies, and knowledge contained in the state academic standards and curriculum frameworks in the areas measured by the MCAS high school test described in Section 1I, administered in 2023. So what that means is we have to identify, or certify, I should say, the courses that are offered at Dartmouth High School that if a student earns a passing mark and earns credit in that course would reflect that they've mastered the standards for those areas. So what does that look like? At Dartmouth High School, what that means is that students, and I should also highlight, this pertains to students who are in our class of 2025 who have not yet met that CD. So we have about 7 students in the class of 2025 who this really applies to, and that's why it's timely. That's why the Mass Association of Superintendents has recommended getting out ahead of this, quickly with the school committee. So what we're proposing as the CD requirements here at Dartmouth High School would be that a student must earn a 65 or higher, which is our passing threshold, in English 9 and English 10, or 2 higher core English course equivalents, such as AP Seminar, AP Language and Seminar, AP Literature and Composition, or AP Research, to fulfill the English piece. The reason for that is we have students who take English 9, but then in their 10th grade year, they start to have more choices, and we do have a number of students who take an AP course that fulfills their English requirement. The standards are such that a student who passes that course would be demonstrating mastery of those grade 10 English standards. For math, similarly, it would be Algebra 1 and Geometry, or 2 higher course equivalents. And again, for this, Mr. Shea and I spoke. We have actually 2 students, and I've been here for 8 years. It's the only 2 students that I can think of. We had 2 students who came in and went right into pre-calculus. So those 2 students are really an exception. However, we wanted to provide language in case that were to happen. We're not going to force a student who and they've done extremely well, I might add. We're not going to force that student to take an Algebra 1 course. That would, kind of be silly. They clearly, if they're in pre-calculus as a freshman, have those skills. So that's, if you're wondering why we have the language worded that way, that would be why. And then for science, technology, and engineering, this is where it's just a single course. That's how the science MCAS is set up. At Dartmouth High School, we've always done biology as a freshman. However, if we had a student who came in and said, I really want to take the chemistry MCAS exam, we would have allowed for that. We probably wouldn't have encouraged it, but we would have allowed for it. The requirements are clear that it's any of the science, technology, engineering courses that were included in the MCAS administration in 2023. So those would be bio, chemistry, physics, or engineering. For us, I just draw our attention to our engineering classes, our half-year classes. That's why, if you're wondering why is it biology or chemistry or physics or engineering 1 and engineering 2, the reason for that is that engineering 1 and engineering 2 are half-year courses, and in order to demonstrate mastery of the engineering standards that would have been on that MCAS exam, it needs to be a full year equivalent. So most of our students would meet the competency determination in this way, but we also try to be mindful of students who maybe this is not the pathway that they're on. We have students who have unique learning needs, who have some significant and profound disabilities, who already are on like an alternative MCAS alt. We want to be mindful of that population. So today I met with Mr. Shea and Mrs. Redlawn and Mrs. Coker-Pierpont, our PALS teacher here at the high school, and we walked through this language, and we're in agreement that this made sense. Also, you should know that we reviewed what other districts are putting forward as draft proposals to their school committees as well, and so some of this language was taken from examples that we've seen other districts using. But what we're proposing is a portfolio alternative to the competency determination coursework identified above will be evaluated by the competency determination assessment panel. That's a local panel. It would be teachers from here at Dartmouth High School that would do that, but they would assess a portfolio to make sure that mastery is demonstrated through that portfolio of work. But again, being mindful that this is a team process, right? Because what we don't want is a student to be in a position where they're issued a high school diploma, and then that means they can't get the special education services that they would need as an adult, as an 18 to 22-year-old. So it is a team process, but we want to be flexible so that we can really meet the needs of every student and provide a pathway to a diploma if that's what's in the best interest of a particular student. So that's what we try to do with this language. And then the final part here, the Dartmouth High School principal may waive local graduation requirements. That's just standard practice. That has always been the case. And we do have some of that, from time to time. Again, that's often through a team process where a student might have a language-based disability. And so world language, for example, might present a challenge, and the team might request a language waiver that the principal then signs off on. That's, again, has been standard practice for us. So what we're just calling out here is the principal maintains that right because for local graduation requirements. However, for the competency determination, that is not the case. It's a requirement by law that students meet that in order to earn their high school diploma. So Understanding the impact on Dartmouth High School of this. Again, as I mentioned, class of 2025, there are currently about 7 students who have not yet met competency determination through prior MCAS performance. Of those 7 students, there are a handful who will meet it if these requirements are approved. And then there are other students who would probably, if a diploma was what they wanted to pursue, would have to look at maybe the alternative pathway that is described. Students must still meet local graduation requirements. I can't stress that enough. As Dr. Saber-McGuire said, we're in a good position here. 99.2% of our students meet MASC core requirements. MASC core, if you're not familiar, MASC core is the recommended curriculum by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's a very rigorous curriculum, requires 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 3 lab sciences, and I won't go through all of the, so many credits in arts. It's really a rigorous curriculum, and our program of studies is and has been for some time aligned to the MASC core curriculum, so we are in a very good position there. Finally, the future of competency determination in Massachusetts. Governor Healy just issued an executive order that established the Massachusetts statewide K-12 graduation council. It's going to be made up of a variety of stakeholders, and they're going to be charged with examining the variations in local CD requirements. So we just had a ballot initiative that is what's going to create all of these variations. And now by executive order, we're going to have a council that's going to look at all of that and try to redefine, reimagine, a high standard for what it means to graduate and with a high school diploma. So all of that is to say that I do anticipate we'll be back in the near future to have recommended updates and potential revisions to our competency determination requirements. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much for that. I see Chris has stepped out. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I think I'll, if I may, I'll just begin with that for a bit of humor from, if I may, is that I think any educator who has put together a portfolio of evaluation deserves extra credit on their performance evaluations and a coffee break. If anyone has been part of that process, it's pretty, there's nothing alternative or shortcutting about it. It's about a pile of information about this deep, and it's a lot. So anyway, I just thought I'd start with that humor. I don't have any questions. I think I asked a question last time that we were hinting at this was to come in front of us, and I had my answers. And so I really appreciate you noting that the 7 students and the steps to the ways in which this has helped, and that there's a plan in place for those if graduation is something that they are hoping to obtain or to attempt to obtain. So no, I think thank you for this. It was helpful, and I appreciate your presentation. I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Gee, thanks. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. My first quick question is, if I'm all wet, I'm all wet, and I'll apologize. The John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, that's tied to MCAS. What's happened to that?
So thank you for asking that, Mr. Nunes. That's an excellent question. And that's another reason why MCAS, the message should continue to be to students to do your very best on MCAS, because it hasn't changed. MCAS will still be used to determine the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship as well as the Koplik Certificate of Mastery. So thank you for highlighting that.
Because I was here for and I'll get into that later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this. I guess my major concern just becomes, and thank you for answering engineering 1 and 2, because I had highlighted that as to, you know, what was going on there. I know you said that, you know, most of those 7 students are going to be okay. I mean, and I know you've identified them. I mean, is there any special help that these students are able to get? Is it just a whole bunch of different scenarios without getting into
Right, without getting
individuals
into specifics.
Yeah.
So I think that the students for whom a diploma was their end goal, those students will be fine, I believe. And for students who had other plans after high school, I think that those students, that's going to, like, I don't see this changing their plans. I think that that's, you know, for a while has been kind of the plan in progress for those students, and that's, you know, how I would expect that they'd continue.
Thank you, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
My only question is the 7 students, is that atypical from past?
So no,
Okay.
we always have a handful of students.
Okay.
So the atypical part is now they won't need to
Right.
continue to retest and hope that they
Right.
pass in time, earn a qualifying score in time. For the 7, you know, I mentioned there are some who have already met these because, again, the coursework we're identifying is just coursework that all of our students take anyhow. And as Mr. Shea alluded to, if you're not earning credits, you're not progressing with
Right.
your class. So, you know, it would be rare if our local requirements are higher than the CD, and that's, you know, so again, if a student doesn't meet the 4 years of English, for example, they weren't earning a diploma from us anyhow. So these are actually, it's, you know, that's why I refer to it as the minimum, because our local requirements in many ways are actually higher already than these.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm just curious, we've always required our students to meet the certain number of classes getting a 65 or better. So in the past, did we often have students who got 65 in all the classes that were required and still did not pass the MCAS? Or was it always like the 7?
So in our community,
In our
it was always, you know, I can't really even think off the top of my head of a student. I mean, there's always a chance. We would always, that's another thing that we should clarify. Students have the opportunity, let's say that was the case, they can come back and retake MCAS with us even after they've stopped coming as a student, you know, because let's say they earned a certificate of completion from us, right? They could still come back. I can't remember, and I'm looking to Mike and Ryan, I can't think off the top of my head of any student that has been the case since I've been here. In other communities, that is more common, that would
So in our
happen.
community, it's really not going to change things that much?
No.
Right, okay.
No.
Thank you very much for all your work.
You're
have done.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tebow. I think it's pretty straightforward, cut and dry. I think, like you said, you both said, that we're kind of ahead of the game in Dartmouth with where we're at with our program of studies, and I feel comfortable with everything that you presented. So, no, I think my colleagues have certainly answered some of the questions or asked some of the questions that I may have asked. So I don't have any concerns. I think, I'm ready for a vote. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to look for a vote to approve the competency determination for Dartmouth High School graduates.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Mrs. Amaral. On the motion, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next up, we have one more presentation this evening. It's the preschool reconfiguration proposal.
Yes, so Mrs. Denisio's coming up to present, but I would just say before she gets started with her presentation that this is something that has been in the works for since I've been here, something that we recognized right away, that we needed to make some modifications to our pre-K program. And Mrs. Denisio, Mrs. Redlawn, the Cushman pre-K staff, they've done a great job, and Potter pre-K staff have all been part of these conversations, and they've been thought partners in this. And so this reconfiguration proposal is one that I think we spent a considerable amount of time developing. So Mrs. Denisio, I know you have somebody you're going to be introducing as well, so
Yeah.
I'll turn it right over to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Making substantial changes in any aspect of educational programming is hard and complicated, and that's why we don't do it a lot. Trying to balance mandates, district resources, best practices, and family needs, and what's in the best interest of students often present competing priorities rather than alignment. When we look at the strategic plan like we've been talking so much about tonight, we see the call for consistency and aligned practices. In the special ed office, the way we've been thinking about this are vertical alignment, sustainability, and building flexible structures that will meet the needs of our students, that will meet the ever-changing needs of our students. So with that in mind, I'm here to present the proposed restructuring of our preschool programs. As you know, because we discussed it last year at a school committee meeting, we currently have 8 preschool classrooms, all of which can service 15 students, ages 3 to 5. In a full classroom, that would look like 7 students on individualized education plans and 8 peer partners. All of our 8 classrooms currently are full day. Students attend school from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. This has been the district's model for over a decade. The proposed changes for next school year is to convert 2 of those classrooms into half-day programs for 3-year-olds, maintain 5 full-day classrooms for 4-year-olds, and introduce a substantially separate classroom for students with a higher level who require a higher level of support. Why would we do that? Why would we take away programming from children? What's the rationale? There are a lot of reasons. The first one, and I think the most important one, is the developmental appropriateness of our classrooms. A 3-year-old and a 5-year-old have very different needs. And by separating these age groups, that'll allow the teacher in that classroom to meet those needs more specifically. A 3-year-old entering school needs to focus on play and language development and social development and fine and gross motor skills, and then they need to go home and take a big nap. Our 4- and 5-year-olds are truly starting that pre-kindergarten experience, the foundations of curriculum, transitioning to special areas, being able to sustain a full day of school. Currently, when any of our preschoolers come to us at 3 and stay till 5, they're getting the same experience twice, sometimes 3 times depending on the birthday of the student. This change will allow a student to be able to grow with and into our school experience. As we discussed last year, the district is required to provide preschool to students with disabilities when they turn 3. This presents a particular challenge each year, as we often don't know how many spots we will need. We run the risk of running out of room and having to add a preschool classroom in the middle of a school year, which would be a logistical nightmare. By changing the structure of our programming, we could build in the room to grow with existing staff and resources and really never have that worry of we don't have enough slots. We are also seeing an increasing number of families accessing outside services in addition to our preschool. Because we only offer 5 full-day option, that puts families in a difficult position. Are they going to access preschool, or are they going to access outside services? We have students who are being dismissed multiple times per week for outside therapies and appointments that they have, because it becomes an either-or situation, and perhaps this more flexible approach would create a both-and situation for families, so they don't have to make that choice. Another change in this proposal is to not have school for preschoolers on early release days. The intention behind this is so that teachers and staff can use that time to participate in child find activities such as visits to community preschools to conduct screening and observations. Oftentimes we receive referrals for students from outside preschools or daycares, and rather than jumping immediately to an evaluation, which can be an exhaustive process and time-consuming, our staff could provide guidance in the student's more familiar environment. This time could also be used for evaluations and meetings. Despite its small size, Cushman holds well over 100 team meetings per school year. And because our preschool teachers wear 2 hats as the classroom teacher and the special education teacher, this results in a lot of time away from the classroom and some coverage issues. Having monthly time to complete these tasks would alleviate some of that challenge. This chart shows the proposed configuration. As you can see by the numbers on the bottom, there is a net gain both for special ed slots and for peer spots, utilizing the staff we already have in place. If you're a more visual person like me, this is a visual representation of the classrooms. So I would suggest we start by filling 3 of the 4 available 3-year-old slots. So many numbers. We would do the 2 a.m.s and then 1 p.m. and leave that, see that orange p.m.? That's our one that we would open if we need to. Again, the staff is already there, the room is already there. We would just have to add the students to it. By having this flexible afternoon, it would again give opportunities for teachers to complete evaluations and paperwork. Because what we're doing really for the teachers who are going to be teaching the 3-year-old programs is doubling their caseload. So we need to provide some time for them in order to complete all that comes along with that as far as IEPs and meetings. The substantially separate classroom would be for students on individualized education plans with a higher level of need. There would be no peers assigned to that classroom. Instead, those students would integrate into the inclusion classrooms as appropriate, or peers from the inclusion class would then join them for activities in their classroom. This mirrors our substantially separate programming that's currently in place, K-12, again, working towards that vertical alignment. Our full-day preschoolers would continue to participate in PE, art, music, lunch, recess, and rest time. And our half-day students would participate in classroom activities incorporating art, music, and movement, but would not have specialists. This reduces the number of transitions for our 3-year-olds, which can be a challenge. So here are some of the logistics. There's also a proposed increase in tuition for our full-day programming. Currently, the cost stands at $450 per month, which has not changed since we started full-day preschool about 10 years ago. The hope is that the moderate increase will cover any additional costs, which would really just come from transportation. It's easy to look at these changes and build a narrative around what the district is taking away, but I am encouraging our community to look at this through the lens of how these changes will better serve our youngest learners, how creating sustainable and flexible structures will allow us to meet the varying needs of our students, and how increased individualization is not only more appropriate, but it's our mandate through the IEP process. And how increased opportunities to connect with community organizations and preschools will better serve all of our students and families. So before I do my big introduction, does anyone have any questions about the proposed changes for preschool?
Questions from Mr. Nunes?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mrs. Dionisio. Very nice. Couple of thoughts, and again, more so with you. I got the 4-year-olds there, full day type of deal. But the 3-year-olds with the half days and such, when we have, when we have a half day of school because professional development and such, are they going to be in? Are you going to rotate so that
well, that's why.
The afternoon students?
My proposal is no preschooler has school that day, and we use that time as professional time for the staff to be holding meetings, visiting community preschools, doing more of that outreach work. Okay. Because that was the tricky part. Like, who would come to school that day? It would always be the AM kids. Yeah. So that's why I thought, again, using the time we have to complete some of the other things on our plate.
Okay. And then take it one step further. This is wintertime. We get snow.
Doesn't snow anymore, Mr.
I know. Well, we're due. I don't care what anybody says, we're due. But the superintendent calls a 1 hour or 2 hour delay. It's like these the morning ones are no sooner going to get there, and they're coming
Yeah, we
back
would just
home.
have to cancel that morning session. And then if it were delayed, the afternoon session could come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do we have, would we be transporting these three-year-olds?
We transport students on IEPs that require that as part of their disability. So the majority of students who do come to us on IEPs are being transported. So that's sort of where the increased costs might come in, because we are adding sort of a trip, and the size of Dartmouth is tricky.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's sort of the
understood.
anticipated increase of cost.
Okay. I think that's all I had. Yeah. That's all I had at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Coughlin?
A very well thought out plan. I like it. I personally think 3-year-olds really can only handle school for half a day. So with our students who have IEPs, we are mandated to have 3-year-old kindergarten for them, or preschool. Is there a certain number of days? By taking away the half days, are we still able to make the required days?
Yeah, there's really no parameters around that. An IEP is to provide access to the curriculum. So what's our curriculum? What is our sort of structure? Right now it's a full day, but changing it to a half day won't necessarily change our responsibility, but it might change our response, if that makes sense. Also, we might run into not to go too far down a rabbit hole here, but we might run into a student who needs more than that. And that's something we'll have to be looking at, because the nature of their disability is such that they do need more services than can be provided within that 2.5-hour day. So.
And I will just add that most of the area communities have half-day programs for 3-year-olds and even 4-year-olds. So having half-day program for 3-year-olds is appropriate and recognized by the state as a best practice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
I'll just, go ahead.
No, I just took an audible breath when you said that, because I was hearing the word individual, and then I was hearing we're doing it this way, and I thought, where's the I in individual here? And I appreciate it.
It's here, Kathleen. It's right here.
But there was a slide, and I apologize. I'm a little bit late to the party, although I'm aware of this. But so my questions might be some that others have already talked through individually with their. So I just preface it with that. There was a slide where it said full day, so peer community lottery, same, could choose a full day program, or am I missing? Is the half day for everyone in the
half
community?
day is for 3-year-olds.
Okay.
The full day would be for 4-year-olds, as far as the lottery goes.
Okay.
Including the peers.
Including the peers, yeah.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better. And I have heard from some folks with some feelings around this. I'm sure you have as well. And so I do appreciate your rationale. I just have to say that I trust the district, but I just worry. The beautiful program, the inclusion program, was something that I think our community was a value added to our community. And I always did hear from families where then when they would transition, there wasn't that vertical alignment, and it was often difficult to advocate for inclusion when the model that our district supports on the upper grades was more of a secluded model for that K-5 specifically, let's just say. And so I do have slight apprehension, and my hope would always be that we would work harder to be more inclusive rather than going back to that substantial separate model. which I understand there is a need for it. That has been my experience in thinking through the pros and cons of my own life, is sort of what is my, my vision and what is the reality and where do we have to go, and it's often not where we often veer off in that path. But I do have a little bit of pause with that, although I do understand and recognize the need. And so I just have concern with that. I'm not gonna put my heels down. I just feel that this change is something that I'm processing in the moment, so I apologize. I just, could you maybe talk through some of the discussions around, landing on we need to do this because it's better, maybe some of how you processed, well, what does that mean for the path we were going, or that I was hoping that we would go as a district?
So to be honest, two things. IDEA requires us to have a continuum of services. And right now we have 8 classrooms that operate the same way. So while we provide students with individualized services, we are not really providing them a continuum. In 2021, there was a preschool evaluation done, and that was one of the recommendations, that this substantially separate classroom exist. To be quite honest, I'm not 100% sold on it either. What happened when I started putting this on paper and I started looking at the staff is that we have the staff to make this work. And I think it's worth making it work because there are students who can be identified who being in a classroom with 15 kids is too much for them. It's overstimulating. They need a smaller environment. But again, that whole, you want to call it reverse inclusion, you want to whatever you want to call it, they are going to be included in those other classrooms. That being said, we are looking at our programming, because one thing is not enough. We are looking at our sub-separate programming K-12 and making changes there as well. And really the point is that vertical alignment. Inclusion is always the goal, but it's not always the reality. And how do we balance that? So that's where And
I trust you, and I trust the district, and I just...
no, I love this.
Trust that we are reflective in this,
yes,
and we make some data-based decisions, and that we don't lean into it. And I understand the parents going for outside services. I did that as well, and I appreciate you saying that some kiddos might need more. Thank you. I took a nice deep breath with that one, and I trust, but I just hope that we are reflective and we revisit this, and that we don't get stuck that this is the way.
Flexible
and that those kids belong
flexible
there.
structures, right? So I want to build things that can be.
Thank you.
Flexible.
Thank you for my TED Talk. That's it.
You got to be done now, Chris, right?
I've got about 5 questions.
Okay.
I'm just.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Thank you for your presentation. I did have an opportunity to meet with Dr. Saban McGuire ahead of time. I think what you proposed certainly makes sense. The 2 questions I actually do have is right now the programming structure for the 1 preschool class at Potter will stay the same as a 4-year-old program, and that's what it is right now?
Yeah, there hasn't been a 3-year-old at Potter in, 5 years or something. Because the need is so great and we only have 1 classroom to service that area, what happens is the kids end up starting at Cushman and then going there when they're 4. So that's not going to change.
Well, I am a big proponent for equity across the town, and I know for those role model students that may not have transportation, that I know there's only so much room to go around, but whether or not we can look at a modular or some other kind of scenario for Potter, it certainly would make me happy to see equity across the town and not just having a 3-year-old program over at Cushman. But that's not really for anyone specific to decide, but I just want to throw my 2 cents out there. And then last but not least would be because we do have to vote on the price increase. That will need a vote this evening. The going from the full day, going from 450 to 600, and then a half day of 450. I'm just curious, is it, I'm sorry?
250.
250. I'm just curious, is this a, regardless of the month, it stays the same, or is there a daily rate? For those months that have like Christmas vacation, or?
It's a set monthly rate.
It's a set monthly rate regardless of, and how do we come to that decision? Is that what it is right now?
Well, it was in 10 years ago, we instituted the $450 a month based on comparisons with other districts at the time, and we haven't even looked at it since then. So what we envisioned with our current structure, we knew that implementing this would have some increased costs. We're going to have midday transportation of students home from school and then to school that we don't currently have. So we're going to definitely be incurring costs in that way. So in order to accommodate that, we took a look at, the tuition rate and adjusted it. The increase ends up being the average increase of our counterparts who have similar programs would be $733 a month for full day. We're increasing, but we're only going to 600.
Yep.
And $417 a month for half day.
Okay.
And we're going to be at 250.
Yep.
So we're still going to be a very reasonable program. To answer the question regarding, should December be less than May, let's say, for ease of payment.
Understood.
We have a set monthly rate.
So really, we look at it through the lens of it's an annual payment, school year payment, and
Yes.
we divide it by
Divided by 10.
Divided by 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope. It just actually it's also more for me as well, just so when I get questions, Mr. Oliver wires every month the same. I can answer that. So thank you, and we do need a vote on the proposed additional costs.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we approve the reimaging of the Cushman Preschool for school year 2025 and 2026, including the adjustments to the price costs.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nunes, second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So while I still have the microphone, as they say, the devil is in the details, and I am more than thrilled to introduce someone who's going to help me suss out all those details. As of Monday, February 3rd, we are welcoming a new early childhood director, Stephanie Riccardi. No, you could come over here, please. To the district.
I thought I was going to get away.
There's much work to be done, and I'm so glad to have a partner in this important work.
What an exciting time to jump on board. I wanted to thank you all for having me tonight, Dr. Sabin McGuire, for giving me this opportunity. Preschool is definitely a passion of mine. I love the littles, and I take a great honor in being a part of their early education. The littlest learners, they have the most rambunctious energy that we just love to harness, and it's really a foundational. Preschool goes by in a blink of an eye, but really we're setting the stage for all of these wonderful other things that we heard about, at the elementary level and certainly at the high school level. So it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm really glad to be here.
Okay. Welcome.
Great.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome to
Thank you
Dartmouth.
very
We're
much.
happy to
I
have you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, and that wraps up our presentations. And under old business, what I would like to do, with the committee's okay with it, I'd like to take out of order the April 2025 DHS World Language Department Cultural Excursion to Spain and Portugal, and bring that up to our first item under old business. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes. Sounds good.
That's fine.
So, Mr. Shea's going to come up and introduce. Happy to see this trip moving forward. As you know, our trip last year was a great success. Our students got so much out of it, our students and staff, and we want to continue to be able to offer these kind of experiences to our students because it does make a difference for them. And I think Mr. Shea has a presentation planned and has some answers to some questions about some things that are going to look a little bit different this year. We're still working with EF Tours, but we have somebody else that apparently is a familiar face here in Dartmouth, and we're going to talk about what the trip will look like for this year.
So I want to introduce you to Mary Ellen. I'm going to skip some slides down so I can introduce you to Mary Ellen. So Mary Ellen's led at least 25 international trips with students beginning in 1999. Former New Bedford High School teacher for 35 years, a Dartmouth grad, and she works with the chaperones with EF Tours to make sure they're doing the background checks in through this. So we're very lucky to have a very experienced person leading our trip this year who has done these trips with our students and working with our students. I begged, and I appreciate her stepping in this moment. So I just want to take the time to introduce Mary Ellen. She is leading the trip this year, and we're very lucky for that. So anytime step on my toes when I go through this. So it is Portugal, Spain. It's Madrid, Salamanca, Coimbra, Fatima, and Lisbon. This was pictures from last year. A lot of it is my group of students, but this you can see over here is the residence of the royal family. You have down here where we get to see a Picasso about this far away from it. I was this close to a Picasso in that museum. This is before we leave. That's a beach day where our students actively did the One Dartmouth for us. And this is in a Plaza Mayor in Madrid. So our students got a really nice opportunity to travel to some really great places. Oh, and actually this here is in a park that is, it has like a devil statue in it, and but it's like one of the royal family's old parks, and it just opened up to the public like in the 60s or something like that. So it was really cool for our students to experience that like world culture and see these beautiful gardens. So the trip goes from US to Madrid, then Avila, which is Stone City. You get to see literally Middle Ages walls like that were built to circle the whole city. They have a really nice, like, actually COVID memorial there, too, which was really nice. And then they're in Salamanca for a night, which is, you're right in the heart of the city. You get to see some universities there for our students, where you go to, then we go over the line into Portugal, where we go to Coimbra, where you have a library that Harry Potter was based off of. They actually let bats free in the library at night to eat all the things that attack books. I don't know what that would be. Mites, I guess. But it's gorgeous. And then they go to Porto. They come back down to Fatima, which is like such a religious or non-religious. You feel something there. It's a really impressive city. And then you end in Lisbon, and you leave from Lisbon. Did I miss anything on those trips?
No.
Okay. So you fly overnight, and you go right into a walking tour of Madrid into the Prado Museum. You're exhausted, but they do really well. Again, you do some sightseeing in the village. The next day, you're in the royal palace. You get to see the throne room. You get to see the former bedrooms. The walls are like, I couldn't get over each wall. Like, just was ornate. It was really great. Into exploring the city again in Madrid. Then you go to Avila, which is again the stone city. Here, it's just like a breathtaking experience. It's a cool dip in temperature when you get there too, just that area that you feel. And then you're going to go across into Portugal. Tons of old cathedrals, gorgeous sightseeing. When you go to Coimbra, you go to the university. Again, you see the students in capes. Literally Harry Potter. It was pretty cool. And she wrote it there. Like when she was touring, that's where she wrote it from. Then you go to Porto, which you take a riverboat cruise on the river, and you just see the city built into the city. It's gorgeous. And And then you go, like I said, you go to Fatima, which is this holy experience. When you leave Fatima, you go to the monastery, which is this incredible church that is, it's actually not even finished, but it goes back to Prince Henry the Navigator times. And I think he's buried there, right? Or his family is. And then you go into Lisbon, and you get to go to the top of the city, and you get to look down on the whole city. It's quite a hike up. It was quite a hike up, but you... Yeah, it is. Your legs are sore by the time you get to the top, but it's gorgeous and it's so worth the hike up there. And then you leave to return to the U.S. Again, this is some of the royal family residence. This is Porto. This is a tower in Portugal in Lisbon where the conquistadors fought off invaders, and there's like an epic battle there, which was really impressive to learn about. This is the Prince Henry. This is one of your trips, not mine. This is the Prince Henry, the Navigator, and celebrating the Monument of Discoveries. Thank you. Yeah, we get to celebrate all of like the Portuguese impact on culture and society. They have on the ground. They have a map of the world and where the Portuguese pushed out to. It's really, really just beautiful. They did a really good job. And if you go across the street, you have the best natas in the world. Lisbon City Hall, again, everything is just gorgeous. And then the food. Oh my gosh, the food. If you don't travel for food, I don't know why you travel, right? Like that's just my belly speaking. But again, we had the original natas, which were incredible in experience. EF Tours is our travel partner. They put together a great program, again, and I think Mary Ellen can speak to any questions on EF Tours and the support that they provide us, but it's 24-hour support, tour guide. We're part... Oh,
yeah, I just
yep, go ahead, yep.
They're present all throughout the world. So in many European countries, they had... Oh, I'm loud. In many European countries, they have an office. So they have an office in Lisbon, they have an office in Madrid, they'll have an office in Athens, so they're very well present throughout the world. EF is.
And on the trip, too.
So, yeah. And so in case of an emergency, they're there in a flash. And that's why I use them, is because of their presence and affordability as well. They're... Out of all the travel companies that I've looked at, they're also, I'm not going to say they're not cheap, but lower cost.
And they're fair for what you get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, our students get round trip, hotel stay, regional meals every night for breakfast. You get breakfast and dinner. You get a tour director who's with you 24/7. Transportation on amazing coach buses that are so comfortable. You have the cultural guide, so not only is your tour guide there, but you'll get a tour guide that comes on your bus and takes you, or you when you go to the palace, you get special entrance at the palace with the tour. That's throughout too. And then so many just like landmarks that you just see that you're just like, oh my gosh, that exists too. Students themselves, they're required for their passport. They contribute to obviously the fees and the baggage fees that they would have to pay for extra. Try to encourage students to park.
The only baggage fees they would have is if they overpacked.
Yes.
They're not going
to. Yeah, which they will not. They were scales for us all. Tips for the local guides and bus drivers, and then snacks and lunch meals. But usually you're pretty full from breakfast and dinner, so it's a quick meal. Again, I introduced you to Mary Ellen, and then this is why we partnered with EF Tours. And again, you have a local safety guide that's with you throughout the whole tour, and then you also have the support at home throughout the tour. Mary Ellen will get like surveys throughout the whole tour just to ask how it's going, to keep you in the loop of what's going on and what you need. And then again, top soup to nuts. They're hooking you up. They're taking care of you. So I'll open up to questions on it. You're still waiting on final dates because they wait until the airfare.
No.
Oh, you got it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I haven't even seen it. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we're leaving Good Friday.
Okay.
Coming back on Sunday, the 27th.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
I already have the flights.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I was very mad I missed the ice cream bar on the way up.
So I'll start off here. A couple of questions for you, either one of you. How many students do we have currently registered?
19 Dartmouth High students.
19, excellent. And what is our volunteer or our chaperone ratio?
Your chaperone is Mr. John Karen from Dartmouth High, and I have educators. Jerry Forts, who's a track and field coach here. She's been a track and field coach here since the 1970s. She's also another Dartmouth chaperone. Amy and Rick Houston, Dartmouth residents, New Bedford educators. You know, I have an English teacher at New Bedford High School who traveled with me 4 years as a student. She's my former student. She went on 4 trips with me at New Bedford High School, and this is her 3rd time chaperoning as an educator. So her family has actually done 19 trips with me.
Oh, wow. That's great.
4 kids, yeah.
I'm happy to hear it. And what is the, just so we're all on the same page, will the chaperones be briefed ahead of time?
So the chaperones
for
have a lot of
expectations?
responsibilities, maybe more than what you guys did. My chaperones, we do room checks at night. We wake them up in the morning. I stress that punctuality is very important. And if you're late, everyone's late. So the chaperones will wake up the students,
Yep.
knock on the door. Student has to get up, open the door. All the lights go on. Everybody's up so
I
that
like
they
it
can't go back
already.
to bed. So, yep, every chaperone would have 6 students.
Okay.
So it's a 6-to-1 ratio. Actually, there's going to be a few with 5. And, yeah, any questions?
Perfect. No, that's all I have. I don't want to monopolize the time.
I have
but-
one word. The importance of these trips, my favorite word, growth.
Agreed.
Growth. Because, you know, you look at the itinerary and you think, okay, they're going to learn about the country they're visiting, the culture, the foods, history. They're going to learn about themselves. They're going to learn how to use foreign currency, to make a purchase with that currency, to use an ATM in another country, to get along with 2 other people in their room and share bathroom, which prepares them for college.
Very
So
true.
it's a lot of growth there, not just the knowledge of, you know, visiting.
Sure. No,
another
that's a
country.
great perspective. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Mr. Nunes?
Two quick questions. What's the airline?
We are Air Canada.
Air Canada.
So
Here
Boston Logan,
Yeah.
Montreal,
Montreal. and then-
Montreal, Madrid.
Yep.
Okay. Then Lisbon, Montreal, Boston Logan.
Okay. So it'll go through.
I've already arranged for coach bus transportation round trip. We're Lucini bus lines from West Bridgewater.
Yep.
Or Bridgewater. Yep.
Familiar with Lucini. We use them
Lucini.
with the band. And
Yeah.
they're good.
And
They're good.
I contacted 5 companies to get the best.
Yeah.
I always do that.
There you go. That's fine. And off the top of your head, what's the euro valued at? I haven't looked lately.
That can change every day.
I know it changes every day. I know it was $1.10 the last
So
time I
it-
looked.
Yeah.
So.
We lose money.
Yeah, we do. I was just
We do.
curious.
I recommend AAA to get the euro.
Yeah.
A lot of banks don't even bother. Like Santander doesn't even, do it any longer. You can't get euro or any other currency from Santander. It's crazy, I know. But
Takes 5 to 10 days too.
triple dicks even quicker than that. Yeah, it's usually sometimes 3
Yeah.
with AAA. They can use debit cards.
Yeah.
And that's another experience for them to use their debit cards. I stress that they are frugal. And I stress that. I teach them some things. Bring snacks from home. Non-perishable snacks, bring as many as you wish. Because if you've ever been around a teenager, they're hungry at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah. I chaperone band trips.
Dinner's over, they're hungry. So bring snacks from home. Go to Walmart, stock up. I also, little senior citizen trick, take from the breakfast. Put it in your backpack for later.
That's not a senior citizen trick. I did that.
Oh, yeah.
I say bring some sandwich bags from home and pack those sandwich bags with croissants, some
Bagels,
fruit from breakfast, because we know teenagers don't always eat breakfast as they should. So this gives them an opportunity to pull it out of their backpack later and, you know, consume.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, sounds
Have
great.
have a great time.
Oh, they will. And I also, by the way, this is something I would like, and I would like you to be on it too, is that there's an app that is the most widely used app in Europe, throughout the world, but in Europe, this is their app. It's called WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And I am going to have a separate WhatsApp group for the parents so that we can throw in photos every day. The chaperones and myself will be throwing in photos so that those parents get able to see, you know, their child every day.
Sounds good. Love it.
I like it.
Make sure the cell phones have international
Well, yeah,
service.
well, yeah, and so here's the other thing. If, you know, I'm a talker. I do have the gift to gab, and I'm very repetitive. Must be the 35 years of teaching. So as far as I try to keep them, like, I give them as much knowledge about how to communicate with people at home, whether it's their parents, whether it's their siblings, whether it's their boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whatever. There's, if you, like, a lot of them are on Facebook, but their parents might be on Facebook, use Facebook Messenger, FaceTime. If you have the iPhone, use FaceTime. All with Wi-Fi, free. WhatsApp, free. Free phone calls with Wi-Fi. So if all parents download WhatsApp, they can communicate every day with their son or daughter. And I stress that because if you have Verizon or AT&T, it's very expensive. I personally have T-Mobile, so with T-Mobile, you can text in over 300 countries free texting. But that's not so with Verizon and AT&T.
AT&T's $10 a day.
$10 a day.
So that's why I use the WhatsApp, use FaceTime, Messenger. Yep.
Yep, good. Very good.
Great.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation. Thank you
Thank
both
you.
very
Okay,
much.
No question.
Thank
You're very
you.
welcome.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you, everybody.
Sounds
Thank you.
great.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Safe
Thank you.
travels.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, we'll take it back to the top. School committee policies, Section B, school committee and governance operations, and school committee policy, Section A, ADF wellness policy, second reading and vote. Mr. Kiley?
Okay, so we reviewed these policies at our last meeting. And we had some discussion and some comments. We did have a brief discussion about, suggestion about possibly adding a CORI requirement for school committee members. And we did check with the MASC and our attorney, and they advised us to not include that. And that the committee really couldn't establish qualification requirements for members. So we did not make a change to that policy, and everything else remains the same. So we'd be happy to talk about it and answer any questions you might have before you consider it further.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiley. I do appreciate you reaching out to MASC and legal counsel on that. I thought it was at least worthwhile to have that discussion. Comments, questions on our second read and vote on this policy? Mr. Nunes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I did catch in bits and pieces different parts of the meeting. Was never able to catch the whole thing. And I appreciate the comment about, all the different lettering, the alphabet soup, as it was talked about, type of deal. And I appreciate it. And I really don't have anything. I mean, personally, I am CORI because of my involvement with the band and athletics. And I mean, I'm one-on-one with students. So I have a CORI on file. So, but other than that, I have no issues with these policies.
Yeah.
Good job by everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Yeah, and I honestly, not singling you out. It was just a matter of I just thought it was good practice. But I understand the political fallout from that, and something we can enforce, so I'm okay with it. And so, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the policies as stated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Mrs. Amaral. On the motion, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your work. Thank you, Mr. Kiley. Continuing on, FY '26 through 35, Capital Improvement Plan. Further discussion and vote to approve.
Thank you.
Mr. Kiley?
Thank you. So, again, at the last meeting, we presented the FY '26 through 35 10-year capital improvement plan. I guess the biggest, we haven't changed anything based on that discussion. The biggest thing that I wanted to make you aware of is that at the next meeting, so the February 10th meeting, I'm planning to present a Mass School Building Authority Statement of Interest for the high school roof.
Yay.
To you. It'll then need consideration from the select board before we actually submit it. So assuming that the school committee is going to be in support of getting a new roof here, then we'll get it on the select board's agenda and then submit, hopefully, in March to MSBA.
Great.
Fantastic.
Questions about the CIP?
No,
So that'll be for the next meeting, you said, Mr.
That
Chairman?
will be, yes.
Great. And are we thinking, I know it's a little early to tell, but are we thinking potential project for FY '27?
Well, you know, we're going to be in a pool of candidates with MSBA, so they'll determine it. It likely will take a year-ish to get it ready and get funding at town meeting and get it fully designed. So it'll be a process over some time, but in an ideal situation, yes.
Okay.
It would be a 27, yeah.
Perfect.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Nunes.
Through you to Mr. Kiley. Is this something, because we need town meeting approval and such, is this something we're looking to put in on the June town meeting or maybe the October fall meeting?
I think
Just
more
to-
likely.
Just to
yeah.
have it available?
Yeah, I think that obviously a lot hinges on whether or not we're even accepted into the MSBA.
Yeah.
I don't think we would learn of that in time, so it's not going to be submitted till the end of March. So they're not even going to start considering projects until April. Maybe they'll consider something in time for the beginning of June, but really not sure yet.
They
So
could give us a placeholder?
They certainly could.
And when I say,
mean,
I say placeholder, I mean the town could give us a placeholder
Yeah.
at the June meeting and then just withdraw it.
right, it would be strictly for design money, I
Yeah.
think, that we would need a vote, which when we present to the select board, we can make that recommendation.
Yeah.
I hope that there'll be a quick turnaround. I mean, obviously, you have the option to approve or not approve the statement of interest, so I think we've talked a lot about the need for this, but I've already made the town, aware that we're in this process, and yeah, it's pretty easy to
see
look
what
at
we
the
know,
need
yes.
if you just look up. So hopefully, we can get on a select board agenda in a prompt fashion and get it in. But yes, we'll have that discussion with them about town meeting possibilities.
And the last thing I have is I know there was discussion, a couple of schools in this 10-year plan, which with the amount of discussion that we had with the 40-year capital improvement plan, this, should not be a surprise to anybody that we've got two schools out there. I mean, I know Mr. Kiley made the comment, or Dr. Saber McGuire made a comment about all of a sudden having 2 or 3 schools in one fell swoop. And, I happened to, in the Standard Times the other day was half a dozen schools in the city of New Bedford with, design work or whatever they needed done. going out for loan orders for half a dozen schools. So we hopefully don't want to get into that type of a situation. So, I mean, I appreciate everything that's on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you get a note from CIP, if you'd let me know, if I can make it, I'd love to show up.
I will. Yeah, I'm expecting possibly in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But I don't have a date or anything at this point.
Let me know. Thank you.
And just speaking about town meeting and all of this, just out of curiosity, have they signed a town administrator yet? I know.
No, I don't believe so.
No, that's they were supposed to meet tonight in executive session with town council to go over the, from what I remember listening to go over the contract to send.
It's been quite some time. All right, thank you. Thank you for the update. So at this point, I guess we're looking, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the FY 26 through 35 capital improvement plan.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nudes, second by Mrs. Amaral on the motion. Any other discussion?
Sorry.
Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kiley, for your work on the CIP. Next up, hot topic here, 2025, 2026. I'm getting a little punchy. School year calendar. Further discussion and vote, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Saban McGuire for her thoughts.
Well, I think that you're correct. This is a hot topic in town, and I'm sure that you have had discussions with folks who live here in Dartmouth who have thoughts about the school calendar. It seems to be one that's a hot topic in other communities as well. But what we did do is we revised option one. If you remember, with option one, we were proposing a shorter holiday break, and we would have had a full days of school the Monday and Tuesday before Christmas Eve. The option one revised proposal is exactly the same as option one, with the proposed addition of that half day on the Tuesday before the 24th. And then option two is that one with the longer holiday break, and that provides, again, for a later last day of school. That would bring us to the 15th without snow days. All options include that the Friday before Labor Day, that we don't have school on the Friday before Labor Day, and that there's a half day on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And so we had lots of discussion about that, and I know you wanted time to think about it. So
I don't know if you watched any of the deliberation, Mr. Nunes, but it certainly was.
Yes, it was. But that's okay. Good, healthy deliberations, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, in all seriousness, I knew I wasn't going to be here, but in conversations that I had with Dr. Saban McGuire, I mentioned to her about, going the Monday and Tuesday of Christmas week with the half-day type of deal. If you don't do that, two things personally come to mind. Number one, you're coming back on a Monday for half a day. Nobody's going to be here anyway. Type of deal. It's you're opening up the schools and such. And number two, more importantly, me personally, that Juneteenth holiday scares the living daylights out of me if we get any amount of snow type of deal, and just extend out, 4 or 5, 6 snow days type of deal, bring us well into the, the last full week of June. And, we need the summers to get the schools reset for the fall, and summer projects done, and custodians to clean, and everybody else, the faculty and staff to recharge their batteries. So that much longer. So that was my thought on going the 2 extra days, you know, that type of deal. And I've had discussions, not with parents, not in this district, but in, you know, some other districts. And, you know, I happened to mention it to them, and their comment to me, and they're educators, and their comment to me was, take the 2 days, you know, do the Monday and half day Tuesday. So that's where my vote is.
Thank you for your input. Any other thoughts? I can share mine, or?
Sure.
So after thinking about it, taking it back, and reading and having conversations with several parents in town and folks in town, I'm leaning more towards having the 2 full weeks off. I'm thinking of it from as an educator point of view. I can understand that, you know, it's a long 2 weeks. Some people may say 2 weeks is a long period of time to keep students out of school, and they're going to miss stuff. But in the reality of it, there's 2 things, in my opinion. The 2 things being, one, that it's 1.5 days. So first thing is going to school on the 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, with parents. I think we're going to have a lot of absences as it is. And then my other thought is, where am I going with this? If you've ever been in a classroom the week before Christmas or the month of December, kids are very, very rambunctious. And I don't know how much, you know, I'm sure the teachers will do as best as they can to educate those students during those 2 days. But the reality is they're ready for the holidays. So my opinion would be to have the 2 weeks off, if that made any sense.
I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Oliver. I've shared personally, the break in routine is a very difficult thing for certain members of my family. But, you know, it's, you know, looking at the calendar, I think we did this once before a few years ago, and it might have been 5 or 6 years ago. I think Dr. Jenkins proposed we not have a day at one point, and it ended up being a longer vacation. And I do think there was a little bit of, oh my gosh, when does school start again? But the reality is, I've heard from both sides, but I've overwhelmingly heard from people who made a great case for, and Mr. Noon said it, I'm going to steal his words, but I'm going to say it for the option, the different option that Mr. Oliver's in support of is recharging battery, and some other really compelling reasons to, you know, if we're going to do it, it's a day and a half, this option versus the other. The 15th isn't too late, unless we do get massive snow. But that, you know, we couldn't do this next year. Next year, right, we're in another week, you know, it falls an extra day away. So it's, I think giving folks 2 weeks would be I won't, I'll support what the committee's pleasure is, but that would be my choice. Option B, option 2, a longer holiday break with the full 2 weeks.
I got a handful of emails that were split right down the middle. So as I considered everything, I'm leaning towards John's proposal with the Monday full day, Tuesday half day.
Okay.
I also have heard from both sides. It's a weighty decision.
That's why we get the big bucks, just remember that.
And I am in favor of Mr. Noon's revised Plan A for not breaking up the routine of students for working parents who have to find childcare for those couple days, and also the real possibility that June's going to be really hot and we don't have air conditioning in these schools, which are not modern. So I will, however we vote, I will support it, but.
Just waiting for a motion. We can put the calendar to bed.
Put it on the table, why not? Go down in glory. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, seriously, make a motion that we, for school year, academic year 25-26, we adopt the revised option 1 as provided by the superintendent, which has December 22nd as a full day and December 23rd as a half day, with the last day of school at the moment being June 11th, 2026.
Anna? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion? Chair hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 3-2 with no abstentions.
Save the pieces.
And thank you, everyone, for your thoughtful reflection on this. Next up, boy,
Budget update.
we have a budget update. Thank you.
That's right. You're welcome.
Budget update.
Before I turn it over to Mr. Kiley, I just want to say a couple things related to the budget before Mr. Kiley talks about really where we are in terms of planning for the budget. You heard tonight, references to the district strategic plan. You heard Mr. Shea talk about the opportunities that we have through school improvement planning, for internships, for opportunities for more relationships with higher ed. You heard our Potter School students talk about their opportunities to come here to the high school and to be part of the TV and production studio. So the folks that are making those things happen are the educators in the buildings that are working with the students. And so when I think about the importance of supporting a budget and when people ask us, well, what does an instructional technology coach do? Well, you saw what an instructional technology coach does here this evening when you had the instructional technology coach here supporting. Even though we had 6 students presenting, there were far more students involved in what we were able to see on the screen and what we heard from our presenters this evening. We talk about opportunities for kids, and we talk about that in ways that we have to make those direct connections back to staff. So I think that we have to keep that out in front of our discussions when we talk about numbers, of course, which are important, of course. And we have a responsibility to the community, both the town community and the Dartmouth school community in particular, to make sure that we're finding as many ways as possible to give our students opportunities. And you heard our students tonight, as young as 5th grade, starting to talk about having these experiences that may shape their very futures. And that's why those positions like instructional technology coaches are important, because they exist in all our buildings, and that is how they're supporting kids in their development. So with that, I know Mr. Kiley has an update
intro.
as to where we are in the budget process.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saban McGuire. So we have a budget subcommittee meeting coming up on February 10th, and that meeting is really to set the stage for our budget presentation to the school committee. Did I say February 10th?
You did.
Yeah. Subcommittee meeting on February 3rd.
Yes.
Next
10th
Monday.
to
3rd. To get us ready for the budget presentation to the school committee on February 10th. So we've got a lot of work still to do before February 3rd, and then leading into our presentation for you folks on February 10th. we got some news this week in that the governor's budget proposal is out. The governor has proposed a $75 per pupil increase, which could be worse. It could be the lowest that they would go would be $30. $75 though per pupil is less than 2.25% increase for us. So it's $242,000 increase, which unfortunately is not going to save us from facing some challenges in this process. Another thing that I am very concerned about, and I don't know, I think the legislature is probably going to adjust this, but the governor failed to fully fund universal free lunch and breakfast, which, we just had our wonderful presentation that Mrs. Sheridan did on our food service operation, and we really have made great strides, I think, in terms of both what we offer kids and just the level of participation that we get, from kids in our program, and we certainly want to be able to continue to do that. I'm a little concerned that that was not fully funded.
The governor didn't fully fund community aid.
No, and it's now the law, so I don't really know how that's going to work out. So I think that the legislature is going to act and adjust that, but we'll see. There's other things that the state doesn't fully fund and is the law too. So, it won't be the first time. But I hope that that's not the case, because that will have a significant impact on our kids.
Did I hear there was some kind of supplemental budget being thrown around for circuit breaker?
Yes. To fully fund that, and I think that's important, and we have a substantial amount of claims in circuit breaker, and if that is not fully funded, that will have immediate detrimental impact. But I think it will be. The other thing was that the town side, the unrestricted town aid, was right about the same as ours. It was about 2.2%. So in the governor's budget. So they're not particularly helping us at the state level as usual. And that's where we are. And I look forward to meeting with the subcommittee on the 3rd and really getting this out in public and move forward.
Yeah, no, same here. Questions, comments from my committee members? No, as always, thank you, Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Nunes.
No, I'm just looking at the cherry sheet
Yeah.
type of deal, and the $242,000 in Chapter 70, $69,000 in local aid. Everything else. Yeah, some other stuff went up, but that's just reimbursements.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not quite sure how they're expecting. And you look at ours. And I'm a broken record, and I apologize, I've given up with the gateway cities, that type of deal. But you look at some of the other communities around here, and they've got percentage-wise, substantially more than us, type of deal with what we have, and it's, we've got, twice the number of students and such, and I'm not quite sure what anybody thinks. And again, I realize this is out of the box from the governors, and there's going to be some adjustments, but there's not a lot. Some of these don't change that much, if my intuition is there. So I'm not sure how they expect us to survive.
No, certainly agreed. Do you think you'll have for the February 3rd budget meeting, Jim, a number from the town?
We're working on that.
Okay. So it would certainly be very helpful if they had something to give us to work with, for sure, since we're trying to get our budget ready every year a little bit sooner. So thank you for that. All right, next up under new business, school choice 2025-2026 discussion and vote. I did ask Dr. Samuel McGuire just to provide some numbers for us as to where our school choice currently stands enrollment-wise.
Yes, so actually, 122. I have it up on my board.
No
and I
problem.
don't, but yes, we have 122 students.
Spread across the high school.
Spread across the high school. And I think Mr. Kiley has some, if I'm not mistaken, in front of you, you have some numbers related to school choice.
Right. So
funding.
Yeah, I do. School choice students right now make up 13% of our high school population. So just for your reference. I provided you with some financial information. I mean, we had a pretty in-depth conversation. Well, actually, we had a bunch of them last year regarding our use of school choice funds and the benefit that it had on our process, especially considering there was not a lot of collaboration with the town and working on our budget issues last year. So we receive about $700,000 in annual revenue, $5,000 a student. But if the students have an IEP, there's an increment depending on the services that they receive. So it's not a flat $5,000 for those 122 students. So we're projecting right around $700,000 of revenue this year. We right now have more than $1.3 million planned in expenditures. So we had, a significant, like I said, a significant amount of discussion last year about how we were going to bridge the budget gap. And you have before you a plan to do that over the next several years. Unfortunately, the expense side of it continues to be more than the revenue side, so we'll slowly use our reserves to the point where 3 years from now we will be in a deficit if we were to continue that. So we have some work to do and hopefully find some support in the town in order to resolve this. But in the short term, we're going to continue, and you'll see in the FY26 budget proposal that we'll be making, that we're going to continue to supplement our budget needs with school choice in the short term.
So, questions around, I think we got two pieces here, right? We have, I certainly would like to have a little bit of discussion around school choice budget, but also just the school choice program as it stands, and what is the committee's pleasure on approving school choice for the FY25, FY26 school year?
I would say we should continue school choice, primarily because we need the money right now. I am beginning to wonder whether I would want us to have school choice if we were fully funded. We talk a lot about school culture and belonging, and a lot of it is about us being Dartmouth, and it's our citizens of Dartmouth giving their tax money to our students. And I can understand how, the taxpayers might feel like we shouldn't have people from outside. And also in terms of our culture, it's where we live, it's our town. I don't want to be isolationist. I believe I want our school to be the best public school. But I also understand that our students sometimes want to go to other schools. And so therefore, I'm fine with other schools having school choice and accepting our students. So I'm a bit on the fence about the long-term idea of school choice, but I definitely am in favor of school choice going forward this year.
Mr. News? Did you?
I'm good for right now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
A couple of things, Mr. Chairman, and again, catching bits and bits and pieces. I know you happened to mention about checking with the middle school. Did anything come about from that?
Yeah, good question, Mr. Noon. So I actually, in my biweekly meeting with Dr. Saban McGuire, we did have that conversation, and that is something, you know, it's a little bit late in the game right now to introduce that opportunity at the middle school. But for me, you know, I think we obviously have a number of students that leave 8th grade to attend New Bedford Voc or attend other schools, even other school choice schools. So my feeling is if we can bring in students from other communities starting in 6th grade, that there would certainly be a reason for them to stick around and attend Dartmouth High School.
Right.
But to answer the quick answer to your question is, I don't think we're just not there yet for the middle school. I mean,
No, I would agree, Mr. Oliver, and we did talk about, we had conversation about putting sort of a little study team together to see what the interest would be in including, and really it would be a 6th grade entry point, but we would have to have a team to look at that, see the impact on class size. One of the things that Mr. Oliver said that I would agree with is if we open school choice up to 6th graders, then those would be the students that you would have grades 6 through 12. So you would have the same group of students that really, realistically, you probably are having enter Dartmouth schools in 9th grade. It would just be that you would have a chance to have them become part of the culture of the school system earlier. And that would mean that you would have obviously more students overall because it would be from grades 6 through 12. So that would be a recommendation that we would make, but we would want to take our time before we entered into bringing that forward to the committee, and we would have to have a team study what the impact would actually be. So we weren't quite there yet.
No, that's fine. So this is something that this time next year we could be talking about to bring in for.
We could be.
For following, for
Right.
26, 27.
Yes.
Type of deal. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the financial picture. My vote hasn't changed. Okay, I'm not going to be a surprise to anybody there, type of deal. But also, too, I would have to be foolish and naive to say, you know, the money is good, and thank God we've got it, because if we didn't have this year, we would have really been, you know, worse than whistling Dixie, as they say, type of deal. But then again, this is extra money that, in this school committee member's opinion, should be doing the extra things. Okay?
100% agreed with you there.
This is what should be doing the extra things. Okay, you know, for teachers, for students, you know, things of that nature. This should not be balancing a budget. Okay, that and such. So, you know, between the town and the state, and again, I'm a broken record, and I apologize, but no, I don't apologize, because it's the truth. This is the reality of it, type of deal. So, yeah, thank God we've got the money, because other than that, we'd really be in trouble. And I appreciate, you know, Mr. Kiley can get dollar bills out of pennies, thank God. So, you know, we've got this to, at the moment, fall back on. But, you know, we've got a little bit of a safety net, but we don't have a big safety net.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and all of a sudden, this is going to dry up in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, kind of go back to no, never mind. But I won't go there.
Okay.
I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Nudes. I can certainly agree with you on that. As I look at this here, the 11 FTE positions that are funded through school choice should be funded through our operating budget, not through school choice. And I think we need to make ourselves very clear to the Finance Committee and to the Select Board that those positions really should be funded in our operating budget. for sure.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Before I give my 2 cents? I'm obviously, for a number of reasons, I'm in favor of school choice. Education's becoming more and more competitive as the time goes by. We look at, perfect example is Old Rochester Regional. They have a very successful school choice program. They are pulling, I think, actually 6 through 12 school choice, and a number of them are coming from the Fairhaven School District and from other Wareham and some of those other districts. And the reality is that in order to stay competitive, especially at the high school level, if we didn't have 128 students,
122 right now.
122 students at Dartmouth High School, if there was 122 less, we would not be able to offer the types of classes that we offer. That's the reality of it. So for me, I think school choice, it's about course offerings, at least at the high school level, and keeping our course offerings big. We also there is also a financial piece to it, and I understand. I certainly respect your values, Mr. Nunes, around being part of the Dartmouth taxpayer. But we do have our students going to other districts for one reason or another. So there's also that piece of it, and it's also the piece for me. It's about empathy, teaching empathy to our students at Dartmouth High School. That there are students, families that don't live in the Dartmouth community that have an opportunity to come to Dartmouth High School through the school choice program, and I think that teaches them a little bit of empathy about they're fortunate enough to live in this town and come here, but we also have students coming from other area towns and cities into the Dartmouth High School school choice program. So I am, once again, a yes, no surprise from me.
Do we know the number of students that go out from Dartmouth to other districts for school choice?
Good question.
We do.
There's 53 right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I just want to say I agree with both of my colleagues to my left here that I think the good outweighs the bad, and I think that we can be isolationist as a town, and I think that was a good word, Bess. And I do think that students coming from other places enrich our population and present possibilities of learning for all. And so that's where I am on it. So I'm in favor.
I've been clear about this, I think, from the get-go. I'm in favor of it, and I don't think I could say it any better than my colleague, Mary Beckwith. It's about opportunities. It's about enriching the student body and the experiences, and just learning from others. And I think it's just a good thing, and also not much anymore, but some financial benefit to it as well. And that long list of expenditures that should be in our operating budget, but. So I'm in support.
Thank you, Mrs. Amaral. And I'll just say, and I'll stop talking because I know we're going on 3 hours here, is that if Dr. Saban McGuire, Mr. Kiley were to say we're maxed out at Dartmouth High School and we didn't have the space, well, then that's one thing. Yeah. Well, for me, that's 100%. If we were maxed out and we're gonna, it's gonna be a detriment, then my vote's no.
Right.
It's always no at that point. Right. Yep. But right now we have the room. Mm-hmm. We have opportunities for other students outside of Dartmouth. So it's a yes. So Chair will entertain a motion on school choice.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, make a motion that the Dartmouth Public Schools adopt school choice for school year 25-26.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Coughlin. On the motion, any other discussion? Chair hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Me.
Abstentions. Motion passes 4-1 with 0 abstentions. And thank you all for that, that conversation. I think it was a good one.
Thank you for allowing it.
Next up, 2024 annual report and vote.
You, I know that you received our report. I've heard from a couple of you about a couple of things that we'll certainly address before we submit to the town, but the annual report does require a school committee vote before we can officially submit it to the town.
Perfect. Comments, questions?
Good job.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I have no doubt.
A lot of work by a lot of people across the district, so I appreciate the work that's been put into it.
Interesting to look at. Motion to approve the annual report
Second.
as adjusted.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Ms. Beckwith. On the motion, any other discussion? Just a big thank you to everyone on the administrative team. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, superintendent's report.
Okay, so I'll try to speed through it. I'll try to talk as fast as Mr. Shea.
There you go.
I don't think that's possible, but I'll try. But under teaching and learning, I just continually want to reiterate the importance of the work taking place at all levels of the district. We expect to have high-quality resources in place in all of our major content areas. Not every single content area at every single grade level, but certainly I think that we're seeing big impact right now. We will have, as you know, a new resource for elementary, for literacy in the fall. You'll hear more about that soon. Science, world language, math, we're again, as part of our district strategic plan, that is a real focus for us, and I just will make that connection back to how important the budget is in supporting this kind of work, because those are expensive commitments. And the resource is one part of the commitment, and even as important is the professional development that needs to take place in order to support our educators in the implementation of those resources. We continue to explore ways for educators to participate in opportunities for professional development, both internally and externally. We talked about the cohort that we are able to provide through Bridgewater State for educational leadership. Tomorrow we actually have a virtual meeting for educators who may be interested in getting a master's or even a postmaster's in reading, so that they would have an actual degree in reading. And so that's something that folks, again, along the same lines as a cohort model, where it would be a reduced cost for our Dartmouth educators, and it would be a hybrid model so that much of the work would be virtual, but there would be some opportunities for some in-person kinds of experiences at Bridge, or maybe even here in Dartmouth if we have a cohort that is really made up of all Dartmouth educators. So we're really excited about that. I'll mention to you that our school has earned the College Board's AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award. And what that means is we've expanded young women's access to AP Computer Science principles, and that this is something that is something to be commended here in Dartmouth, because our school is one of 847 schools to achieve this accomplishment. And so we're excited about, again, when you think about some of the work that's happening here in computer science and through the work Mr. Perotti and others are doing, they're offering lots of opportunities you saw the number of young women that were here tonight talking about their experiences in TV and production. And so that is exciting for us. You heard Mr. Kiley talk about the budget already. I'll mention as far as HR is concerned, and I know here I am the broken record, but we are seeking special educators, both at Dartmouth High School and the middle school, and those job ads are out, and we're hoping that we get a qualified Candidate pool, again, a great place to come and work, and we want to just promote ourselves as much as possible so we can attract talent to the district. We are in the process of interviewing for the Quinn and Potter School principalships. I thank Mrs. Paveo and the team that she's put together to lead this process. This has consisted of a screening team made up of various stakeholders and really representative of the school district. I thank the committee members who have been willing to step in and sit on one of those panels. I also share that our associate principal, Rachel Xavier, has taken a job in a neighboring district. We're certainly sad to see her go. And at the same time, you have probably noticed that we did put out a job ad, and much like the processes that we're using to select principals, our director of early childhood, that will also be extended to any really administrative position in the school district. So we'll update you as that goes along, and again, come to you and ask you to be part of that process. It's such an important position. Monitors, substitute teachers, I always have to talk about it because even today, and in talking to Mr. Shea about a position he needs to fill, he said, I thought I was at the point where I could say I have a full staff, and I think what we all need to acknowledge is there really doesn't seem to be a time where we can actually ever say that. And so we're constantly in the process of hiring the right people for the right positions for the school district. As I said, Jim already updated you on some of the other ongoing work. I am going to just take a moment to talk about, there have been a couple of events, I'm going to call them, in the Dartmouth Public Schools over the past couple of weeks. And what I think is important for us to focus on is really the district focus on safety, respect, and responsibility in our schools. And these recent events have shown us how vital it is that we all work together to create safe and supportive environments where all our students and staff feel safe and supported. We hold high expectations for our schools, and these expectations are rooted in our shared values of respect, inclusivity, responsibility. It's important that everyone, students, staff, families, and community members, play a part in upholding these standards so that our schools remain places where everyone can thrive. I want to acknowledge the successful relocation of our Quinn School students and staff to the middle school that just happened. It seems like, it was months ago, but really it was just a short time ago. That process went incredibly smoothly, and that was thanks to the hard work and planning of our staff at both the Quinn and the middle school, and you could see really clearly how teamwork comes into play and that the relationship folks have built throughout this school community becomes so important. And that wasn't a safety crisis, but it could have been had not been for the response of the effective response of all the adults that were involved. And there were lots of people involved. I hear Mr. Kiley talk about, I think he said he had 44 phone calls.
42.
42.
Yeah, close.
I was close.
Yeah.
I had a number as well. We were both working different angles, and then we had our staff on the ground doing the real, actual relocating of over 700 students. So I thank everybody that was involved to make that transition, I would say, as seamless as it could possibly go. And I thank our parents and the community for responding so positively to us. I also think it's important that we highlight the positive experiences that we want for our student athletes and for our spectators. Athletics bring our community together, and our sporting events should reflect the best of who we are. I've always felt that way in Dartmouth. I continue to feel that way. That's such a source of pride. And so we remind people that whether you're competing, you're cheering from the sidelines, you're working behind the scenes, so many folks are involved. We all have a role in making sure that these moments are fun, they are competitive, they're respectful and memorable in really special ways for our student athletes and for our community at large. When challenges come up, we certainly take them seriously. We act quickly. We follow established safety protocols, and we work closely with our partners, like the Dartmouth Police Department, and it's all about ensuring the safety of all of our students, our staff, and our school community. And I thank our staff and law enforcement for their dedication and professionalism in these efforts. We're all here, every one of us, because we care about our students, we want them to succeed, and as a district, we're committed to supporting our kids and our families with clear communication, with resources and opportunities. And I think it's important to mention that the trust that we build in our community, with our families, and in our community in general, we really lean into that trust. And when there are challenges, we lean into the trust that we've built in the community, that they know that we're responding effectively and in the best interest of their children and staff. So we've had some, I would say, challenging events, and at the same time, I can't thank the staff, the team here enough for coming together, including our school committee. Us being able to pick up the phone, send you an email, let you know what's going on, knowing that we have your support out there and that you're doing what you can to communicate what's happening behind the scenes. And so I just want to thank everyone. Honestly, I've said this to the district leadership team and to teachers when I can. It's when challenging times come up that you see the strength of a team, and that is what I am really fortunate to be able to say as superintendent, that I felt like I had a team of very effective folks around us to sort of shepherd us through those events, and I thank the community for that. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm excited about the rest of this sports season. The girls basketball team, I was reading in the Monday Minute this morning that I think they're ranked third in the state. That is something really that we need to continue to celebrate, and we have other athletic teams doing really well too, and we are very proud of our athletes, and we're proud of our community. And that's what we want to keep our focus on. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saban.
Can I just mention one more thing? I'm sorry. Yes. We're going to put out our first ever Dartmouth staff newsletter. I don't think we've come up with a name yet. I want to call it the Dartmouth Compass, but I think we're still working through it, and that's a newsletter that will be put out quarterly by the district leadership team, highlighting some of the work that is going on across the district. And at our next school committee meeting, just before, we'll have a reception for our first ever Green Apple Award recipients, and we'll talk about what that is. So somebody has a green, Mr. Gelshaw actually has a green apple, and we'll talk about that at the next committee meeting, but we're excited about that. And that's a part of our family and community engagement and safe and supportive school, the work that we're doing to ensure that that is also of primary importance in our work. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And just piggybacking off of that, I have it here as a 5 p.m. Ceremony before the next school committee meeting. Is that correct?
5:15. We will have a reception. We'll have some refreshments. We've invited those folks that were recognized here with their families. We'll award them an actual green apple, not an edible one. And then we also will ask them to come just to the beginning of the committee meeting so that you will have certificates for you to be able to present to them.
Fabulous.
Great.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your report. Any questions?
Just one quick comment, if I can, Mr. Chairman, just through you to, and really to everyone, is, the district has done a lot of work on a lot of these internal policies when situations arise and such, and they work. There is no doubt in my mind that they work, and I know a few years ago there were other schools that wanted to, can we borrow your policy, modify it to what we need. They need it type of deal, but they just love the policies that we've, the administrators and central office have put into place. So I'm glad to see that, they work.
No, 100% agreed. Not only as a school committee member, but as a resident of this town, I'm proud of the actions and the work of the faculty and staff here in the Dartmouth Public Schools under your leadership, Dr. Saban-McGuire. I really don't have much. I'm just going to kind of just share my own thoughts and my own recommendations for sporting events. I think we have a fabulous athletic community here. Students, we have a high participation rate, and I would just ask the community, the spectators out there, to just enjoy the game for what it is. High school sports, I know everyone gets excited. I remember those days. But just try to keep it into perspective that these are high school students, and the refs or the umpires, they're not always perfect, but they do their best, and they do their diligence to have fair calls. And please leave it to the officials as well as to the high school, the staff, the athletic directors, the coaches, to take care of their teams. And just keep your comments to yourselves.
Yeah.
So that's all I have.
Did you listen to WEEI this on your way in?
I didn't, no.
Because they were more so because of the football games this yesterday type of deal.
Oh, yes.
But there was conversations about officiating in high school and college, and even down into like Little League and that type of deal. The issues. So.
Well, thank you. I'll have to see if I can catch that.
Pick up the podcast.
Anything else for the greater good?
I got a couple of quick things, Mr. Chairman. And I know it's old hat now, but it was back in December. I had the distinct privilege of being here for the John and Abigail Adams Awards back in December type of deal, and breakfast, and I helped Mr. Shea and Ms. Shafia hand out the certificates and that, and it was funny going back to, I know Mrs. Sheridan was here at the last meeting and talking about the meals and everything else, and the parents were just overjoyed. I mean, they were expecting breakfast and expecting, muffins and that type, and it was scrambled eggs, bacon, home fries, sausage. It was, juice plus Danish. It was delicious. It really, really was. They outdid themselves. So but again, more so, congratulations to the students and the parents for those awards. It was nice, nice to see.
Thank you for representing the committee.
No problem. It's called being retired. Do these things sometimes. Our indoor programs in the band are going. Our color guard had a critique performance this past weekend, which they did well at. We have 3 home shows coming up. I don't have much in details type of deal. I just know they're March 1st, March 8th, and then NESBA finals for percussion on April 5th. So I'll get more information, and I will ring out for trophy presenters that I need, with times and everything else. And last but certainly not least, our athletic trainer, Kathy Thornton, has won MIAA Trainer of the Year type of deal and such. So maybe we can have her at our meeting.
I was just talking to the superintendent about, yes, we can certainly do that next time.
Have her here.
I'll take responsibility for that. I'll drop that ball.
Not worried,
She was here earlier.
Yeah, she was here at the game, yes, absolutely, but, that type of deal.
Sure,
But it's
absolutely.
Well-deserved award. She is very well respected and, loved by the students, and the interaction that she has with the students is second to none. And, very calm demeanor, so.
That's great.
Just congratulations to her.
No, we'll set something up.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, next regularly scheduled meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee is Monday, February 10th, 6 p.m. With a 5:15 reception. This time, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Noon, second by Mrs. Amaral. On the motion, any other discussion? Chair hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
You too.